I don't think we need a banner or anything.
Say what now?
Because I could put a banner on this, but I don't think we need that. Unless we like want to get specific or something. But I
Nah.
doubt it. Yeah. Just putting the link out for people. Talking about Doctor Who, fuck my life, and post.
Bro, you know you said that live, right? Right.
I know.
You don't care.
I really don't.
All right, let's do this. Welcome to the
Cool.
Dope Dive Live, where we'll be covering Doctor Who and its apparent decline.
Episode 6.
Woo. Pew, 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 pew.
Pew
That's
pew.
my yes, that's
What?
my imitation of fireworks or something. I don't know, man. Be excited.
Get hyped, you punk bitches.
Woot woot.
And so on. Okay, so I guess to start things off, just to point out, we are right around the end of series 12. The only episode left is the New Year's episode. Well, New Year's slash Christmas, whatever they decide to go with that. And since that is upcoming, I figured we would just dive in and talk about what has been happening recently and over the past couple years since the Doctor actually came back. In fact, one second.
Oh hey.
Yep, that's where it started up back in. Let me double check. Was that 2011? Or was it 2006?
I thought it was 2009, but
2009?
I thought. But who knows?
Let's see. The Ninth Doctor was 2005.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, we were way off.
Close enough.
Okay, but yeah, that was like the big reintroduction of Doctor Who back into the franchise after, let's see, Paul McGann's Eighth Doctor movie, which, by the way, it had a body hopping master, and he ended up in, damn, what was his name? Eric Roberts' body. So
Eric
you had,
Roberts? Really?
yes, he was, yes, he was, uh, let's say the master was turned into like some sort of gremlin or something, but then he was able to like hop into this dude's body, and he was running around looking like the Terminator for some reason. But then, yeah, he was the opposite for Paul McGann, and that was the first time in the series where the Doctor straight up made out with his companion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, he was the romantic Doctor. But then, let's see, it was 9 years later where we got Christopher Eccleston as the Ninth Doctor. and it wasn't, and it was only really for that season, but it was meant to pretty much reinvigorate the franchise. Let new viewers like myself know what the hell any of this was. Okay, and okay, just a little quick thing, Jimmy, on your end, I think there's like a little bit of static.
There is. Oh, how about now?
Um, yeah, I think we're good.
All right, cool.
Okay, but that's where we got to meet Rose, soon to be everybody's favorite.
Really? Is she? I thought a lot of people hated her.
What's that? But she is where we started this whole journey with. Like, she was the audience surrogate. She didn't know anything about this, and neither did we.
True.
And all right, and you got to know what the TARDIS is, how the Doctor operates, his whole everything is moving at light speed but not at the same time speech. Like it was a whole thing with him. But he was good. But one of the things that'll actually be a interesting but also a problem in the series, not changing shit. Because she had a chance to go back, save her dad from dying. But the doctor's like, no, we can't do that. Or else these weird dragon monsters will show up and start eating everything. So they had to double back, let him die, and then we never see those dragon things again where they clearly overtly change shit. That already happened. But whatever, no big deal. Kind of. Right? But this is also the time where Eccleston was like really like full of piss and vinegar over the Time War. And there was this weird trash can looking thing called a Dalek, and when that thing showed up, this dude lost his mind. He went from "get me the fuck out of this room" to "oh, you're the one left. Fuck you, you fucking fucker." And then it was like he was straight up ordering it to die, which was actually kind of a shock for the old school fans. It's like, oh man, he seems really upset. That's not good. And which is how Rose was, because up until that point he was more or less fine, but now it's like he's straight up like he's throwing around a gun to kill this thing. But they end up kind of talking it out, and this thing just dies off peacefully after kind of killing everybody in that underground base that they were in. I mean,
See, I don't understand how Daleks can be so lethal.
it's the ray gun.
It's
It's the insta kill ray gun.
it looks dumb. I'm sorry.
It kind of does, but it works. You get hit by it, you die. End of discussion.
Please continue.
Well, after a while, there was a whole thing with Mickey, and as you were saying before, yeah, Rose kind of treated him like shit and just dropped him.
But were they dating, or was he like just kind of like a satellite?
They were dating.
Oh, I got you. Now I remember. She
And then
totally ditched him for like adventures with the Doctor for like 2 years, I think.
it was 1 year, which the doctor wasn't actually accounting for. Like, essentially, they left to see the end of the Earth, or at least that version of it. I'm not even going to get into that. They saw that, and it was roughly like a day for them. They came back, and everyone's freaking the fuck out. Rose, you were missing for a year. Like it's like they straight up thought she was dead. And was that episode or the other one where there was no, the first one was the plastic people. But that time it was something else. But then around that time, Mickey joined in, and the doctor
Yes.
didn't like him at all. Like he was, for lack of a better term, a bitch.
Mickey or the Doctor?
Oh, Mickey. Mickey had no idea what the fuck he was doing. He was running around with it like a headless chicken. It was terrible. But then they actually gave him some redemption because that's when they brought back the Cybermen.
Right.
1 second.
So I vaguely remember the Cybermen, and I don't remember if they were people who were turned into robots or just a robotic race.
Yes, on both counts. Yeah. But here's the thing, they accidentally went to another dimension where Rose never existed, but her dad was alive, but her parents were getting divorced. It was a whole thing. And then, and Mickey was more of a dickhead there. But, and then, yeah, Cybermen were brought up. Everybody was getting killed. And then other Mickey died.
I
But his,
vaguely remember that.
right. And then, but because his grandmother was alive there, as opposed to the home universe,
Hmm.
Mickey stayed to take over for his counterpart and take care of his not dead grandmother. Which, okay, Rose and the Doctor aren't thrilled about this because they can't just. I mean, it's pretty serious, like just getting left in another dimension. But Mickey's cool with it, which is like, huh, not bad. He is less of a
Yay.
bitch now,
Yay. Resolution.
essentially. And then things get serious because then we get to. Hang on.
Okay, I don't remember that.
Yeah, the Dalek Emperor, which he had the best voice. Like I can't play it because of licensing and
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah.
But seriously, he had like the best voice acting, and he was explicit. Like he was like, and this was back when well, sorry, before that they thought they were on some weird game show kind of thing. Like the Doctor ended up in the real world,
I
like
see.
but like well, the real world in the future. Like seven strangers picked to live in a house, and one of them was the fucking Time Lord, and he's like, okay, yeah, I'm not interested in this at all. Rose is on this game show. It's the weakest link, but if you lose, you die. But she's actually lasting because of all her adventures, she can actually answer all these crazy, ridiculous questions. And then what was it? But then the big reveal, because the people weren't dying, they were getting teleported, and they got teleported to the Dalek Emperor, where they would be turned into more Daleks. And he was explicit. He was like all like the prisoners, the refugees, the dispossessed, all of them came to me and they were pulped, sifted, churned inside out to make pure blessed Daleks. I am a god, you sons of bitches.
Gross.
Yeah, and the Doctor was like, Daleks don't have a god. They don't have blasphemy. This is wrong on every level. And what's worse, it's making those Daleks even more insane because they hate humanity, but they're part human.
Hmm.
Oh, and oh yeah, and by then Captain Jack Harkness was there.
Yes.
Yeah, the horniest man in the future. If you have a hole, he'll want a piece of you. But yeah, he was also there as kind of like the Han Solo-ish type. He was just he had a gun, he had a time machine, he was ready to go. And by then, him and the Doctor were cool. Even though he was like, oh, like I'm not really interested in this horny idiot just hanging around my ship, but whatever, fine. But then when the Daleks are revealed, things go to shit. Everybody's getting murdered, and the Doctor has literally one chance: either set off this tentacle nuke and kill everyone, or the Daleks are going to kill everyone anyway, and just have a whole race of Daleks rummaging around the universe. At which point, the Dalek Emperor is like, "I'm going to call your bluff. Are you like Are you a coward or a killer? Press the button, you son of a bitch. And the doctor's like, I'm a coward. Any day. And yeah, for your weakness, they'll all die. Meanwhile, because of how bad this got, Doctor sends Rose to Earth with the TARDIS. She tries to get it open again, does the time vortex thing, and becomes, for about 10 minutes, a god. Goes back there, sends these weird message things, Bad Wolf, all over the universe to get them there in the first place to stop this. At which point, she then just erases the Dalek Emperor. Waves her hand, he's dead, done.
Hmm.
And the doctor's like, it's like all this shit going to your head, like it's like your mind will burn. And she's like, oh, I can see everything, but why does it hurt? And it's like, oh, looks like you need a doctor. And then he makes out with her. But yes, it's gonna happen a lot. So then he takes the energy into himself, puts it back in the TARDIS, saves her. She doesn't have any memory of this part. She just, like, as far as she knows, she got in the TARDIS, passed out, woke up, and here's Christopher Eccleston there, perfectly fine, until he isn't, because now he's dying. And he's like, "Don't worry, it's cool. I'll be fine, just not with this space. By the way, you were fantastic. Wham, bam." Now we got this skinny looking weirdo.
That's not nice.
Yeah, he's fine. So yeah, we have now David Tennant, the object of affection for every other Whovian female, and I guess some males. People just like this guy. Which, by the way, in Jessica Jones on Netflix, he was great.
He was also good in Harry Potter.
Oh yeah, he was that dude with the snake tongue thing. That was weird. Anyway, as I watched this, was like, what the fuck is going on? Like Rose was. Again, audience surrogate. She was supposed to, like, be freaked out by this. Because why wouldn't she? But, yeah, Eggleston's gone. Now we have this guy. And now they have a big old Christmas adventure. At which point, he then deposes the Prime Minister, takes it, straight up kicks an alien warlord off a ship till his death, cuts off his own hand, which will be important later, and wham, bam, he's your doctor. Right. Deal with it.
So basically, when the doctor dies, he doesn't really die, but turns into a different person.
Yes, which is why they can just have however many actors take over the position, but the doctor, quote, is still alive.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and...
Is this a feature for all Time Lords or just the Doctor?
All Time Lords. But there's, like, a limit. Like, they cover this later, but the limit is 12 regenerations. And then the next time you die for real. Which, that's a whole other thing, but we'll get to that. Anyway, him and Rose have however many adventures, and things are all great. Oh, and he completely abandons Jack onto that spaceship, because when Rose had the powers, she resurrected him, Captain Jack, because he got killed. The problem is when she did it, she left him immortal.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
He became a walking fixed point in time, so he's like gonna live forever. Woo.
Didn't he get like a spin-off or something?
Yeah, Torchwood.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it ran for 4 seasons and it was pretty good. It ended on a weird note, but there's supposed to be a radio drama, which will answer none of the other questions, but whatever.
We're continuing it, but all of those questions you have, forget them. We're not answering them.
Yeah, I mean, technically, if they want to continue it, they'd have to explain the other immortal person. Yeah, imagine Mekhi Phifer,
Wait, what?
forever. Yeah, Mekhi Phifer was in season 4 of Torchwood, and
God.
stuff happened, but then he ended up immortal too, due to reasons. And the last question of the season was Mekhi Phifer looking up at John Barrowman like, "What the hell did you do to me?" And credits, and they never touched that again. So yeah, there's an immortal Mekhi Phifer just mucking around the Doctor universe. Whatever.
Please continue. I just.
All right, but anyway, kind of sort of skipping ahead when we get to the end of Rose's run as a companion, because there are these ghosts, and they have this whole Ghostbusters thing going, but it turns out they're not really ghosts. They're Cybermen from that other dimension. They, something happened there. They tried to escape, and then they kind of pushed against the edges of the universe,
Mhm.
and that's how they looked like ghosts, but they weren't really. So they got pulled the rest of the way. Army of Cybermen everywhere, all over the world, because everyone was like, ghosts, cool. There's nothing wrong with this, somehow. But then there's this other weird, like, ball looking thing. Like this. It's called a void ship. It's there, but also not there. And it has weight, but it also weighs nothing. It's hot, but it's also there's no temperature on it at all. No one knows what the hell it is, except that it just fills them with dread. Like you just feel uneasy around it. Everyone assumes that it's more Cybermen, to the point where one of one of the scientists that are in this facility. Oh yeah, the facility's Torchwood. This is like the first time
Mhm.
he ever meets them, and back then they were kind of like dicks. Oh, if it falls to Earth, it's ours. Lol. Which of course when it goes so well, like so well, like it goes off like gangbusters, wouldn't you know? But yeah, one of the scientists turns out to be Mickey from the other dimension. He came back. And he's like, "Oh yeah, don't worry, I'll be working over here." Grabs Rose, who got captured, and was like, "Don't worry, Cybermen came here. I went after them." He has this giant like, oh yeah, like he's badass Mickey now. Like he's kicking ass. Like he has a Cyberman killing gun. We're doing this, and then the Cybermen are like, "Wait, that void ship, that wasn't us. We followed it, and that's how we got here. But that's not us."
Wasn't it the Daleks or something?
Yes, it was the Daleks. Back
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
That this was like the second time that they were actually scary, because there was no hint at it that there was no hint at them at all. They just showed up out of the ship, and there they were again. But these are the Daleks that have like names and like identities and shit, so they could like think better, I guess. By the way, Mickey's Cyberman killing gun doesn't do shit against them.
Well, because they're not Cybermen.
No, because they're just better in every way. Seriously, around that time when I was watching the show, the two people who got me into the show in the first place, before I watched it, I asked them like, "Wait, who would win in a fight, Daleks or Cybermen?" And they lied to me. Well, it's Cybermen. They have like arms. They can use stairs. I'm like, okay. The Cybermen get wrecked by these guys, and there's only four of them. Four versus the world Cybermen, and they're like, four is all we need. This isn't an invasion. This is pest control, and they start laying waste to the point where the Cybermen and the humans are now teaming up against Daleks. Anyway, shit goes sideways, but eventually, fuck heaven, they start just sending the Daleks back to wherever. Like one escapes, but back into the void. Except Rose gets caught in the turbulence or whatever. But then her other dimensional dad shows up, grabs her, and she's alive along with her mom, but another dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was gonna say, like okay, we can't save you guys, but we can save you over there. So Rose's mom is alive, she's alive, but now she's trapped in another dimension away from the doctor, and here she is crying.
Oh no, boo hoo.
And then I think there's some other stuff in between, but then we get to Martha.
Hey, wasn't there like a woman who was getting married? I forgot her name.
Donna.
Yes. I
Yeah,
know that she eventually became a companion. This
yeah.
was after Martha, right?
Yes,
Okay, cool.
and out of all the companions, Martha is the most normal. Like she doesn't turn into a god or turn out to be some weird paradox or whatever. She is literally just a person.
A med
Thank God.
student.
Yes, an actual doctor, not like this guy. But yes, something about rhinos happened, and then she joined him. But then he was telling us straight up, yeah, the Time War, things went to shit. My people versus the Daleks, both blew up. Shit got bad. I'm the last Time Lord. Let's go.
If I recall, um, I barely remember everything that happened between the first episode and her last episode. But like, didn't the doctor become like super incapacitated and Martha pretty much saved the world on her own?
Yeah, that was the final episodes of her run because they had gone to the end of the universe. Quote. I'm gonna say quote like how many times in this, but yeah, they go to the end of the universe. Jack Harkness goes with them because that hand that the doctor cut off, Jack found it, and he is riding on top of the TARDIS as it's traveling through time, which a person should not be able to survive, but he's immortal.
Mm-hmm.
But because Jack is a walking paradox or whatever the hell, the TARDIS was trying to get away from him and went all the way to the end of the universe to do that. But now they're kind of stuck there for some reason. I can't recall why they couldn't just leave, but whatever, they were there. And then they meet the last refugees, and they're being hunted down by cannibals. Because, of course, cannibals are there.
I mean, in the grand scheme, you've got Daleks and Cybermen and dragon monsters and ghost-a-majigs and weeping angels, and I know that's later, but whatever.
Oh, no,
And
by then, the weeping has already happened.
okay, cool. So like,
Thing.
cannibals is kind of low on the list of insane things to see in this show.
Oh, well, apparently they were mutants, but whatever.
I mean, that raises their standing a little higher, but you know, robot men who can exterminate you and have very annoying high pitched voices, kind of, you know, up there.
Yeah. But anywho, they meet this other doctor. His name's Dr. Yana. Things are going great with him. He's trying to just like he basically makes this ship out of basically garbage to the point where the doctor's like, "Damn, this guy's impressive." In fact, sir, you come with me. Where I'm from, you would be a legend. It'd be a whole thing. So, but by then they found out about this whole thing called a fob watch. Essentially, turns Time Lord into a human because, sure, it is one of many MacGuffins in this show. So many MacGuffins, but then turns out that doctor that he was talking to, he has a fob watch. Ergo, he must be a Time Lord. And then, oh, that's a good thing. He must be the last one. And the doctor's starting to sweat and freak the hell out because what did he say exactly? Like word for word. Talk to me, woman. Like he is screaming at this lady over her not knowing what the hell's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, yeah, this other doctor said he had his watch the whole life, but the way he looked at it, it's like he wasn't really looking at it. Like it's like have this thing, but you just notice it now, which is weird. But turns out it's got like a perception dampening thing. It's like he couldn't see until now because this dude showed up, talked about time travel and fob watches and regenerations and whatever, almost like he's trying to remember something. So now this guy opens the watch that couldn't have been opened before, and as it turns out, it's the Master, the Doctor's arch nemesis, one of them. I was about to say like yeah, there's more than one, but yeah, he's one of the bigger ones. And this is the part where, from what I hear, people like old school fans were like freaking the fuck out because because their friends who were new fans had no idea what the hell was going on or what was coming. And it's like, oh, y'all about to learn. So now you have this kindly old man suddenly being a cold, calculating, mahaha, machinations kind of person. Which his assistant, oh yeah, like he just kills her because fuck her. And then, but she managed to get a shot on him, so now he's dying, and then he turns into a younger guy. What was it? Sounds a doctor, Master. Yeah, this slim sage looking guy.
He looks familiar.
Yeah, but basically now this guy's inside the TARDIS. He locks the TARDIS up, so now the Doctor can't get in, and he's like, "Peace, bitches," and then he just zips away. So now the Doctor, Martha, and Jack are trapped at the end of the universe with mutant cannibals running, just trying to bust open the door on them, and no time travel, no nothing. They're stuck. Except they do have time travel because Captain Jack has his own a wrist thing, whatever MacGuffins. Either way, they go back to whatever year it was at the time. The present. Quote. And then it turns out the Master was there for like a year or two, and he became basically the Prime Minister of Britain. Which
Okay.
it's like, which is like, how the hell did he manage to do that? It's like, oh, he was always manipulative, mind control, whatever. He has a wife and everything. He has a whole life. He just does. And then Jack's like, "Can we kill him?" And he's like, "No, because the Doctor, am against murder. So deal with that." And then I forget what he does, but he essentially turns the Doctor old, like old as fuck to the point where he can't do anything.
Right.
And then Martha gets sent away or something. Like Jack, either Jack or the Doctor gives her their other time traveling thing, and just pops her away. So Jack and the Doctor are captured, and since Jack's immortal, the Master kills him like however many times every day, like just for the hell of it, like just because he can. And he's just and he brings out this random army of balls, just future metal killer balls, and they just start ransacking the world. Which I'm out here wondering what the hell is like. I'm trying to remember what his plan was, but I think this was it. Whatever, sure. Then Martha's going around, like just telling stories about the Doctor,
Yeah, I remember she was recruiting people, basically.
basically. And then it turns out the people that they were trying to help in the end of the universe, somehow the Master found them, turned them into those metal ball things that were killing everybody. So yeah, those little ball things are human. And it's like, oh, why would you want to kill us? Because it's fun, and that's what that is.
Hmm.
So then I'm just gonna cut to the end here. What Martha was doing was telling people to at this specific time think of the Doctor, and then their belief, like he's some sort of like God figure, sends their mental energy or something into the Doctor, making him young again and making him basically Jesus.
So straight out of an anime.
Pretty much. He was floating there, he was glowing, and he was just, I don't even know what. It was weird. But whatever. Sure. This is happening. And then the master's wife, shadow wife at the time, she just up and shoots him, and he refuses to regenerate because, haha, not like ha, now you're the last one again. Eat it, nerd. And then he dies, and that's that. Then we get, and then Martha just up and leaves because
I
it's like,
I think she
yeah,
was like super in love with him and was like knew that he wasn't into her or something,
yeah,
and she just wanted to go and live her life or whatever. I don't remember.
yeah, which is like, yeah, good job on that because she ends up coming back into this shit anyway. But anyway, good for her. She gets to have a future or whatever. But
Yay.
then,
Compromising position.
yeah, I don't know what the hell that was. But then we get to, damn it, Anna.
I remember her. The doctor basically interrupted her wedding, and I think
So
her husband was like a monster or something.
he was working for the monster, and
Right.
he just hated her for some reason. The one, but married her, and I don't know. Random spider monster wanted to eat something, and apparently marrying this one just made that happen. But anyway, the doctor saves her, offers her to come along, but she decides not to. But then life's boring, so she like tracks him out anyway. And they were fighting these. They're fat, like literal fat particles, but alive. The was it cortisols or something like that?
Cortisol.
Something. It was just living fat. That's like they were dealing with that. But then she wanted to come along with him, and since she wasn't gonna like stop bothering him, he was like, okay, yeah, sure, come along then. So they have their adventures, and what was weird at the time, throughout their season, it's like he never noticed, but on a random screen you would see Rose's face screaming for the doctor, but he would turn around and it'd be normal again, and it would just and it was just like, okay, that's random. What
Hmm.
could this mean? I wonder. And eventually they find out that the stars have been going out. Like,
What?
yeah, stars have been going out in her universe, and it was like a time. It was like it's like their universe is like a couple days or years or whatever ahead from his. So she could tell that whatever's affecting them first is going to affect him soon. I guess. Whatever. Rose is coming back. Shut up. Deal with it.
Ooh.
Right. So then, fuck. So but yeah, then that whole bad wolf meme that him and Rose have this whole thing about. He starts getting that message everywhere, and it's like, oh shit, it's the end of the universe. Something's going down. And then right after that, the Earth gets stolen
How does
because science. Because science. Because science. That's the only answer. But yeah, they just get like everyone's looking out. The stars are all wrong, and then they see other planets in what is not their sky. Okay, this is weird. And then every one of the Doctor's companions over this time is like, okay, what the fuck is going on? So you have Rose comes back. You have Captain Jack and Torchwood. You have Sarah Jane from the fourth Doctor. She came back for a while. People were like, "Oh yeah, bring her back," and by then she had her own show.
Hmm.
So yeah, good for her. Rest in peace. And then there was who else? Oh, yeah, Martha was working for Unit, who was kind of like Shield, but for the Doctor Who Earth. They
Wait,
are
it's called Unit.
yes.
Okay,
There's I
moving
think it's
on.
there's an anagram for something, but I don't give a shit. And then whatever's doing all this has stolen how many planets, and by then, the Doctor's like, wait a minute. All throughout my however many journeys, I've noticed that like how many planets have been missing. So it's like they've actually been building up to this. But he's like sitting there like, why would anyone want these planets? Like he talks about like, oh, Clom. Who would want Clom? But like it's the worst thing ever. It's like, okay, whatever. But then um and then he meets the Rhino people. They were trying to like do something, but he's like, yeah, no, and he leaves. And then the big reveal, it's the Daleks again.
Oh no, who would have ever seen that coming?
Yeah, this is like the third time that they were actually scary. Because again, no build up at all. No one knows who the hell's doing any of this. But then this fleet just starts giving a signal to all the Earth, and everyone's like, okay, let's see what they have to say. Exterminate, exterminate, and everyone just shits themselves like, oh shit, we're dead. We've all just died. Even the immortal guy is like, we're all it's like we're doomed. This is it. We're done. You have Sarah Jane screaming for her son. You have Rose, who is in her core horrified because she knows what they can do. So it's not this is a whole thing for everybody. Like here, like these are the stakes. Damn it. Unit is out here like, okay, we are at ultimate level code red. We are at war. And yeah, everybody is just beside themselves. Where the fuck is the doctor? But there's actually a little more because as it turns out, these doctors are back because of 1 second. This guy,
He looks like a guy who's sitting in a Dalek.
yes, that is exactly what he is. That's Davros. He's the guy who created the Daleks.
Oh my gosh.
Like he, like he, this is a deep cut from like Fourth Doctor because yeah, the Fourth Doctor was there when the Daleks were created, and it's this guy who did it. Why? Because fuck the universe, and
He
that's it.
looks like a non-purple Ivan Ooze with a hole in his head and a fake crown.
That's an eyeball in his head, or like that Dalek laser gun. That's it.
Okay. Okay. Does he get killed by a Dalek?
Kind of.
That's the only death I would find acceptable for him.
Yeah, it's a kind of. It's it's weird because what had happened that one Dalek that escaped when Rose had fallen to the other dimension. This guy found him, but he fell through the time whatever at the time war and got these Daleks back. But it drove that Dalek insane. So he's just talking all these weird prophecies, which actually come true, and that is how they are here now because they're going to use these planets to create this wave of stuff that'll separate atoms and just turn everything into dust. And they're just gonna unleash that, kill everything, and the only thing left in the multiverse will be Daleks. That's why the stars are going out in Rose's new universe because that's what these things like this was their plan all along. So then the Doctor finally shows up, and then oh shit, there's Rose, and then they have that running moment to each other. Oh, painful music, all this stuff, whoop de doo, and then a Dalek shows up and shoots him, and, and everyone's like, and everyone's like, "Oh shit!" But it grazed him, so he's like severely hurt, but he's not like super dead right now.
No, he's
But
just
then,
regular dead, lightly dead.
yeah, yeah. But then Captain Jack just pops out at the last minute, blows up that dollar. Everyone grabs and puts in the TARDIS, and it's like he's dying. But then Captain Jack happened to have left his the Doctor's whatever hand, like the cutoff hand, in the ship. So the Doctor regenerates, which that was the cliffhanger. Everyone's thinking like, oh, like, which I was like, they're gonna bring a new Doctor now. That's
Did
weird.
they?
No, because he used his regeneration energy, but funneled it into the hand so that he can heal, but also stay himself. Because as you later find out, he has huge vanity issues. So yeah, him and Rose get their big reunion, and then Donna has a complete hard on for Jack.
Oh, so finally a companion who doesn't like the Doctor like that.
Yeah, they are legit just friends.
Cool. I like that. I like Donna.
Cool. So, oh yeah, and Mickey and Rose's mom are also there
Meh.
with guns and such.
Hmm.
So yeah, everybody's here. Like this is their Avengers Endgame. I guess. So stuff happens and they get captured, and then Davros is out here like, so you call me a murderer? Question, Doctor: how many people have actually died protecting you? By then, there are actually quite a few of them.
Oop.
And then also, of all these people that you were normal people before you met them, how many of them are straight up killers now?
Oop.
So, because a bunch of them have like fingers on the trigger for like fucking world-ending
Everything.
weapons. Yeah, hell, Martha, because like Una has this thing, the Osterhagen key, or whatever the hell it's called, essentially blow up the Earth in the event that we're under occupation and can't do anything about it. Just nuke the whole damn thing, so they can't use it. Which the Doctor's like, why the fuck would you have that? But yeah, finger on the trigger. She's about to do it, and other people had other stuff too. Can't remember what they had. But then Davros is like, you know what? Bored now, and then he just teleports everybody to him, and blah, fuck is her name? Martha drops the trigger, so now that's off the table. And
Good.
yeah, and then everyone's like, oh shit, this is the worst thing ever. And Donna, oh yeah, the dogs tried to dump the TARDIS into like basically the radiator, just dump it into the fire, just whatever. But Donna was still trapped in there for reasons. And Davros is like, haha, you just watch her die. Lol. And at the last minute, she like the hand that was regenerating, they had regeneration energy. She grabs it, and then regeneration stuff goes into her, but also her DNA goes into the hand. So then, from this hand, a new Doctor body grows, and now this new Doctor just gets up, has all the intelligence, just just turns on the TARDIS and just time whatever's out of there. So now everybody thinks Donna and the TARDIS is dead, when it turns out they're fine with a brand new Doctor who's also still David Tennant. Because sure. And the Doctor's just kind of fuming at this point because now it's like, oh, what can we do now? But then new Doctor shows up and is like, oh, we're gonna use this thing, destroy the whatever, send all the planets back. Done. So the new Doctor runs in and gets shot immediately because Fuck it. But then, oh, I know, he wasn't shot with like Dalek lasers. Davros has like this force lightning, whatever, which of course doesn't immediately kill because come on, that's like the story has to happen. So he zaps the new doctor unconscious, zaps Donna, who tried to do the same thing, but the electricity jumpstarts the now Doctor DNA shit in her. So then she starts getting all this intelligence that she never had before. Because by then, she could barely operate a toaster. Now she's just mucking around in all the technology and she can just do whatever. So she frees everybody. Everybody's kicking Dalek ass, if you can find an ass in that thing. And then the but then Davros turns around to that Dalek guy that has the prophecies and was like, "Why'd you tell us about this?" And it's like, because I wanted this to happen, you son of a bitch. Surprise! I'm betraying you because this Dalek saw the whole history of the Daleks and it's like, no, this shit needs to end. Like now. But it's like, okay, this thing is exploding. Everybody leaves, but then the new Doctor is like, there's still enough Daleks here to completely lay waste to the entire universe. So he pulls a thing that makes all these Daleks blow up, thus committing genocide. Which current Doctor shows up and he's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And then Davros, being that person, is like, "You did this! I declare you the destroyer of worlds!" And it's like, are you fucking serious? Really? Really? Oh my god! Oh my god! Pot calling the kettle black.
He committed genocide against a genocidal species.
And now he's the asshole to them. Yep. Wow. Yep. Cool. Whatever. Anyway, they send everybody back home. Mickey gets to stay in his universe, and things are looking up. But then the Doctor, Rose, Donna, and the other Doctor go to the other dimension, and they're like, "Okay, yeah, we want that at a price, and the price is this motherfucker." And he's like, "I'm you," and he's like, "Exactly, you idiot." So now you have this guy with all the touches of the Doctor, but none of the restraints, or at least, well, not that restraint. Like it's a good guy, but he's like willing to destroy the Daleks.
The trigger.
Yes, he would kill the Joker essentially.
Cool. That's something I can get behind.
Well, speaking of getting behind, turns out he left this guy with Rose because now Rose has a guy who's essentially him, but can grow old with her and die with her. And since her working with him made him a better person, she can do the same for this guy. And by then it's like, but it's not you. And he's like, it's the part of him that loves you so much. And which is a funny thing because when they said goodbye the first time, it was this whole somber moment. Like you remember where it was like, oh, Rose Tyler I, and then he vanishes.
Yes.
Yeah. This time around, this like they call it the Meta Doctor. I don't know why. The Meta Crisis Doctor. That's what he's called. He whispers something to her, and then she just straight up starts making out with him. And at this moment, the Doctor's like, okay. Grabs Donna, they leave, they go back to their own dimension, and that is the last we see of Rose. And this other Doctor. Boom.
Forever, right? Like forever? No more Rose and stuff?
No more of that Rose. It's complicated. It's complicated.
No, I don't know. Just continue, please.
Okay, so the other issue is that all this Time Lord intelligence stuff is starting to fuck with Donna's mind. So yeah, he has to like wipe it all, including the stuff where they were actually even friends or ever met.
So she actually goes to live a normal life?
Yes.
Cool.
The cost is if she remembers any of the stuff that they did, she will die.
Oh, so he
So
could never see her again.
no, she cannot.
Cool.
And sends her back home, and things aren't great, but like he's not thrilled by any of this. In fact, he's actually pretty pissed, but them's the breaks.
Sucks for them.
But what the hell? Sorry, I'm getting a weird message on my Amazon about my Cyberpunk 2077. Apparently,
Nice.
it'll arrive by tomorrow at 10, and it's like, what? I'm
Nice.
not guessing it, but how? Whatever, sure. Anyway, then he starts getting these weird prophetic messages. Oh yeah, dude, you're gonna die, like for real die. And the doctor's not like a fan of that.
I
So,
don't think he would be.
nor would anyone. But then, like, he keeps hearing this message, which of course is super clear and understandable. He, quote, will knock 4 times. Whatever that means. Sure. So then he starts running around doing shit and getting increasingly more manic to the point where there's this lady. She's supposed to die on Mars, but her death would inspire her granddaughter to be like the best space explorer ever for Earth and be this whole thing. Except, well, it was the whole thing about water monsters. It was weird, but then the doctor saves her, thus wrecking the timeline. Which she's like, "You can't do that." And he's like, "Ha ha! I can do whatever I want. The Time Lord victorious. That's what I'll be. Ha ha ha!" It's like, okay, he's being a massive asshole right now. So the point where she knowing, like, with this random lady who has apparently a better understanding of the timeline than him, goes into her house, whips out a gun, and shoots herself dead right there,
Oh,
thus preserving the timeline because she dies, her daughter gets her whatever gets inspired, everything's set, and the doctor just freaks. It's like, fuck, what have I done? So he just starts going to like Hawaii and shit. Like he's just partying, just doing this and that.
okay.
Yes, Hawaii. He showed up on a random planet with a lei and sunglasses, like he was just doing whatever. And then the big reveal that, well, the master dies and the doctor cremated him, but the master's ring was still there, and apparently these people who were like a cult for the master brought him back, but he comes back
Hmm.
looking like blonde, like he's like older Slim Shady, but sure. So then doctor has to go after him, and then the humans found this machine. It's supposed to like heal whatever, and this dude was going to use it to make his daughter immortal, his doormat of a daughter, whatever. Fuck him, doesn't matter. But then these other people tell the doctor, "Oh no, it doesn't heal just people. It heals whole planets." And the doctor, apparently knowing exactly what that means, is like, "Oh shit!" Runs down the hallway to get to this thing before the master. And he's like, "Look, whatever you do, shoot me. I don't give a shit. Do not let that man near the machine." And he's like, "Too late." Oh, and by then the master is like shooting electricity, hopping around like a superhero or some shit. Doesn't matter. It's weird. But he uses the machine to turn everyone in the world into him. So you have all these people not turning into masters and not changing clothes at all. So you have this guy running around everywhere, but in dresses and flip flops and mini skirts. It's horrible. It's horrible. and and then the doctor gets tied to a bed or something, and then Thrash is like outlaying his evil scheme. Mwahaha. But then uh, two of the scientists, because they were alien, not human, they weren't affected. And seeing that the Earth has become completely fucked, they were just gonna grab the doctor and go. And what was his name? Oh yeah, Donna's grandfather, Wilfred. He was stuck in a thing which blocked it out as well. So he's fine. So they grab him, they go, and they hop into this other ship. And now the Master has Earth full of all its missiles, just firing on this thing. And he plans to do something. I'm going to go into that. But around not that time, however many long ago, I don't know, in the Time War, this other old school Time Lord, Razalon, which is his name, not his title, or he's the Time Lord president.
Oh
Essentially.
gosh.
Yeah, but yeah, he's a dick, and it's like, oh, they know about the prophecy too. Someone's gonna knock 4 times. Blah blah blah. What can it mean? But the knocking sound is actually the heartbeat of a Time Lord, apparently. Whatever, and then they take this thing called a White Point Star and they chuck it into the time stream, and it falls to Earth at this exact time. The Master knows what it means. The Doctor knows what it means, and the Doctor, who went on and on all over these seasons about how great the Time Wars were, freaks the fuck out. Like, fuck, we have to get back to Earth now. And you're like, what are you talking about? The Time Wars is that a good thing? No, that isn't. Because the Time War made them into monsters, and now they're coming back. So now you have this tiny ship and all these missiles and it's a shitstorm. But then Wilfred, he's seeing this lady who may or may not be the Doctor's mom, which there are several problems with that happen because of shit that happens recently. But sure, let's just say that it is. So they're going through all this shit. She's telling Wilfred that you're gonna need to do something. It's gonna be up to you. You're the key to all this, old man. Deal with it. Ugh. So then the Doctor, because they can't land, because the aliens that were helping them, they want to get off this fucking planet. This just gone way too weird. They just want to go. So the Doctor grabs a gun, like a regular army handgun, shoves out the fucking window without a parachute, crashes through the fucking sunroof, and everyone's like, "What in the fuck?" Right as the Time Lords, like the main ones, show up, and everyone's like, "Oh, hey, Doctor, thanks for dropping in." Ha 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 ha. And the Doctor's trying to like shoot someone, but he borderline passes out because he just jumped through a fucking sunroof.
Yep.
The Doctor's down. And the Master's like, hardy har har, you shits. Because you know what I'm going to do? Now that I'm already every human, I'm going to be every Time Lord. I'm going to turn all of you into me. Fuck you. And Razlan's like, lol, no. And then he does a thing with his sonic gauntlet. I'm not even going to go into that. And turns everybody on Earth back into humans. And then he's like, okay, first, all of you, kneel. Very good. And second, we're gonna unleash the final sanction to save ourselves from the Time War. And the Master's like, okay, take me with you. Because remember, I'm here because you're here because of me. I get the credit for this. And the Doctor's like, you fucking moron. Do you have any idea what you've done? It's not just the Time Lords. It's the planet. It's Gallifrey. And then you see this planet like 4 times the size of Earth just appear like right there in the atmosphere, which is not causing mass destruction, but
Yeah, I was
whatever,
gonna ask,
whatever.
but okay, cool, cool, cool.
And it's like, okay. And then the master's like, that's good, right? Gallifrey restored. We win. It's like, no, again, you. Oh, wait, actually, hold on. He's like, no, again, you fucking idiot. Yeah, there he is. Him and his dumb sonic gauntlet. Seriously, Doctor Who has like made its money off of having like really low budgets. They just got a night gauntlet and just made it glow instead of doing anything overly ridiculous. They just made it just ridiculous. Whatever, doesn't matter. So the Doctor is going into detail like you brought the fucking war here. Like you don't know, like you weren't there for the last days. You don't know what happened. The the Scar decorations, the Nightmare Child, the could have been king and his army of meanwhiles and never wers. Which I'm listening to this like, what the fuck is he talking about? It's like the Time War sounds dope. Like I want to see that. Keep all that shit in mind.
Okay.
But then this dude Razlon's like, we're gonna unleash the final sanction as the rift or whatever explodes. We will evolve into beings of consciousness alone as all of time ends. Which is like, wow, okay, great, good for you. And the master's like, that's fucking suicide. And it's like, yeah, that's why this is bad. And that's why the Doctor's here trying to stop this shit. And the only way to do that is to, of course, shoot this one tiny machine, which will just undo all of it conveniently, you know, as these things do.
Yeah.
So then it's like either A, shoot the master or shoot this guy. Like they don't know this part yet, but yeah, he's trying to pick one of them to shoot. He's doing this whole ridiculous, do I shoot you? Click, click, do I shoot you? Click, click, do I shoot you? And then the Doctor tells the master to move. Master ducks. He shoots the white point star thing in the machine, and the Time Lords are like writhing in pain. They're getting warped back to the Time War, which is basically hell to them. And then Razlon's about to kill him somehow, and then Master's like, get out of the way, and then he starts using his Force Lightning powers to shoot Razlon, and he's and the Master's pissed because the shit that made him insane in the first place, the Time Wars did that.
I see.
This weird knocking noise that was always in the Master's head, apparently, wasn't mentioned until now, but it's there. And yeah, it just drove him insane. And now he's pissed at this guy for fucking up his life. So the Master willingly saves the Doctor. Isn't that nice?
Mm.
And the Doctor was like out here like, damn, I thought I was gonna die. I'm a little exhausted, but fuck, I made it. And then
He dies.
almost, because due to reasons, Wolfred had to be trapped in this thing to save this other guy in the stupidestly built nuclear machine I've ever witnessed. Where it's like, it's like Lost. People have to be constantly pushing this button, but because people have like lives and shit, they have to do it in shifts. So when one door is open, the other one has to stay locked while the person's pushing the button or whatever. So now the other person left. This dude's in here, and he knocks 4 times. So the Doctor has to go into this thing to let him out, and then this whatever is going to get filled with radiation that will kill him, which he does because I mean he flips out first because of course he's like super pissed about this, but he's like okay, fuck it. So then he goes, does the thing, lets him out. It's his honor. And then he starts going around to all of his previous companions and just starts, helping around, just doing shit. Like, oh yeah, Mickey and Martha got married.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, which by the way, a lot of fans were sitting there like, Martha had an ass like that the whole time. Damn. Like, which, like, it was a surprise to everybody, but like, damn, them hips. But yeah, they got married, and let's see, one was about to die. They're about to get shot by these weird potato head people. But the doctor, yeah, the Santarans, but they were like, yeah, potato heads. They, yeah, Doc knocks them out, saves them, gives them a wave, and he leaves. This other person that he happened to meet, he he gets him in the direction of Jack because wouldn't you know it, this other kid's gay and Jack is omnisexual. Gives him a wave. They leave, and then other shit happens. Whatever. But then he goes to 2005 to see Rose one last time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna have a really great year." She gives him a wink and a smile and leaves. At which point he is straight up collapsing. Goes into his TARDIS, and he's like, "I don't want to go." And then he regenerates into this comical looking motherfucker.
Bow tie guy?
Yes. This guy who looks like Shaggy Doo or
Shaggy Doo.
Shaggy Rogers, whatever the fuck his name is. The guy's like all chin, but whatever. Anyway, he ends up crashing into some girl's backyard, and he happens to be kind of off because of his regeneration. But whatever. She has this weird crack in her wall that's just giving her nightmares. That's going to be important later. And fuck. But yeah, he goes in the TARDIS. Shit happens, and he ends up coming back like 10 years later. So now she's grown up looking like that. And that is Amy. So, oh yeah, and she grows up to be a kissogram.
What?
Like, he thought she was a cop, but turns out she's a kissogram. She shows up, kisses a dude, and that's like a birthday gift or something. A kissogram.
Gross. Okay. Go.
I don't get how these people live. Whatever. But yeah, she wants to go traveling with him, and there happens to be another Mickey. Hang on, Rory, who at the time was also a bitch. Yeah, there he is.
He looks familiar.
If you watch Legends of Tomorrow, he is Rip Hunter.
Bro.
Yes. Which is like, oh, he was on the Doctor Who show, and he comes back to this show to be basically the Doctor anyway, but with guns.
Oh, that's terrible.
That's not the worst typecast. Like when it comes to typecasting, that's not the worst I've ever seen. Reginald VelJohnson shows up in Girl Meets World to again be a cop.
But Reginald VelJohnson is like the best cop ever.
Yes, and nothing else.
I mean,
which is a shame because him and Die Hard still awesome. My God, so cool.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Doctor Who, I guess.
Yeah, so they have adventures and Rory dies.
Oh.
But then he straight up dies, but he falls into that crack in the wall that follows them throughout the universe. He falls in. So anyway, his fiance Amy over here just completely forgets him. The Doctor remembers for some reason, but then everyone's going on about this weird thing called the Pandorica.
The Pandorica?
It's a box. It's a space box, and something inside is going to destroy the universe. Right? And Along the way, he runs into this lady, River Song.
Okay.
Turns out he ran into her before when he was the 10th Doctor, and she knew shit. He didn't know how she knew shit, but she knew shit, like his actual name. She just
Okay.
knew that for some reason, but they start showing up now because she's very important to the Doctor's future. Anyway, good for her. Whatever. So they get this weird painting that shows a very real vision of the TARDIS exploding.
Hmm.
What does it mean? They wonder.
That the TARDIS is gonna explode.
Yeah, but why? How? And
Someone
other
gonna
stuff.
blow it up.
Yeah, but then they go to the Pandorica, and then every single race of whatever the fuck that the Doctor's ever fought shows up. Daleks, Cybermen, Centaurans, these weird little fart monster baby things, whatever the fuck. They like everything shows up, but no one wants to go first because they're all terrified of something in that box. So it's like, damn, what the fuck's going on with this box? And then they all come down and they open the box and it's empty. It's just a chair in there because they're going to force the Doctor into the box because he's the one who destroys the universe.
Hmm.
Because because when there's this group, they're called the Silence. They want to kill the Doctor because reasons. We'll get into that. Fuck. They blow up the TARDIS to prevent the Doctor from doing whatever. They don't say yet what he's going to do, but then but they're like, you know what? Let's just cut the cord. Let's just abort this baby right here. Blow up the TARDIS and fuck it. And then but then all the bad guys are like, no, you're gonna blow up the universe, and we don't want that. It's weird that we don't want that now, but we don't want that. Yes, even the Daleks. They're like, we don't want the universe to end, which is
Yet.
hysterical because they've been trying to blow up the universe forever. Whatever, fuck it. So then they force the Doctor inside of it, and oh yeah, Amy gets shot and dies.
Oh.
Kind, yeah, kind of, because the person that shot her in the first episode of season 9, when Eccleston was there were these plastic monsters, and Rory somehow comes back as one. He doesn't know it because he thought he came back as like a Roman soldier, but then his hand turns into a gun and he shoots her. So this is like the darkest hour. It's like what the? It's like the Doctor's trapped in this thing. Amy's dead. Rory has no idea what the fuck to do or what's going on until at random the Doctor shows up again, but from a future where he has that cowboy hat you see,
I see.
or a fez. He has a hat on to show that things are different. So he's like, "Don't worry, he'll be fine. Just listen to everything that I'm about to tell you." So he goes, tells him to open the Pandora thing because how it works is you stick somebody in there, and it won't kill them. It'll actually keep them alive forever. So if they put Amy in it, it will heal her from death.
In other words, it'll prevent her from dying, but she'll
Or she's
probably
already dead.
also. Oh, she's dead?
Whatever. It doesn't matter. She'll be fine.
It sounds like
And,
she was on the verge of death and they put her in the thing and she's now in between death and living.
well, she was shot, but she was down for a really long time and wasn't moving. And Rory was pretty damn sure that she was dead. Fuck it. Whatever. Screw it. She'll be fine. But anyway, River was in the TARDIS as it was exploding, but the Doctor, like they, oh yeah, the Doctor tells Rory that you have to stay with her until they, because the Pandora was actually in the past of Earth. So Rory, as a plastic man, can stick with her until the present. So this guy who loves this woman stays with her all throughout history until the Pandora ends up in this museum where teleporting doctor happens to be, and then remember how the fuck he got out of it? Like, because they let him out, but they put him back in, or whatever. Fuck it. Amy's in the box, but she gets pulled out. But young Amy's also there because it was actually at the time where she was on a school trip. So they got
Okay.
young Amy not knowing what the fuck's going on, but older Amy's there. Anyway, because the TARDIS exploding, all the universe dies anyway, except for the Earth, because the exploding TARDIS acts as a sun because time got frozen or whatever. But yeah, it's everything's exactly the same, just that there's no concept of stars. It's just the sun and infinite blackness.
Hmm.
Fuck. Anyway, then there has to be one last time. Fuck. What's it called? Dalek left, but but they take that out. They unexplode the TARDIS or whatever. Everything's fixed. Everything's fine. Fuck it. And then, in order to make it stick, I guess the Doctor has to go into that crack in the wall that was in Amy's bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
But because and that makes her forget him. So her and Rory get married like they were supposed to before she left. That was the whole thing. But then she suddenly remembers him, and that's what wills the Doctor back into existence. And then they have the honeymoon on the TARDIS where her and Rory fuck. Keep that in mind. And then they find this space, and then they find this astronaut whose hand turns into a gun and he shoots the Doctor later. So he dies, but then they all go back in time, and it's like, what the fuck's going on? Because fuck it. So shit. Okay, so like, no, it's fine. Okay, so stuff happens, but they find out that the person in the astronaut suit was River because it turns out Amy had this best friend, this little girl who was really interested in meeting Amy's imaginary friend, the Doctor. So the and this is kind of being like a thing over and over and over again. But this same girl also pushes Amy to date Rory. Like she was actually like really specific on that point. And then and it's a thing between both of them that Rory and Amy end up having to like bail her out of trouble over and over and over again
Mm-hmm.
because reasons. And then this lady finds the TARDIS, holds a gun to the Doctor's head, and is like, "You have a time machine. I have a gun. Let's kill Hitler." So at gunpoint, they go to the World War II, and long story short, Rory punches him in the face. He's like, "Hitler, shut up!" And then but then this new lady gets shot, and oh yeah, by then they find out that River is actually Amy and Rory's daughter, but she got kidnapped by the Silence, and the Silence trained her to be the Doctor's assassin because while they were fucking in the TARDIS, time stream whatever
Time stream
happened.
magic.
Sure, and River is half Time Lord. So this lady gets shot and she regenerates into River, but this is before River actually knew any of this shit. So she is basically insane, but also she's insane, horny, and tries to kill the Doctor.
Hmm.
So she has like poisonous lipstick. She kisses him, and but he's like spelling out that things are going to be different. She's going to save him, yada yada yada, and then she ends up giving him some regeneration energy from herself to save him. Ugh. I'm like, God damn it, the story. But then, other River comes back because it's like, okay, yeah, what's going on? And it's like, boy did boy did they have a time. But Rory and Amy find out that their daughter, their best friend, and the doctor's girlfriend kind of are the same person.
Nice.
So yeah. But then fuck. I was then hang on. Uh but then the universe blows up again because River refuses to shoot the doctor at that time on the beach in the astronaut suit. And because of that, time paradox,
Okay.
which you would think is the dragon things, but no, everything's just fucked. Because that moment's a fixed point in time. That has to happen. And the doctor ends up in this weird backward ass universe where everything's just tits up. And it's like, yeah, it's like, no, we have to go back and you have to shoot me. She doesn't want to do that. And then it's like, okay, look, I'm going to marry you. You'll be my wife, but seriously, listen to me. Look at me in my eyes. You got to shoot me at that beach at that time or everything's fucked. And then she's like, okay. So they get married, they make out, and then they end up back on that beach again. And here's the twist. Right before any of this, the doctor happened to meet this weird crew in this ship, but the ship isn't the ship of a person. It's like that guy in Men in Black with a little alien inside this human suit.
Yes.
So he finds that crew again, and he's like, "Hey, can I ask you for a favor?" And then turns out most of this time in this particular episode, it wasn't the doctor. It was the doctor. It was the suit shaped like the doctor. She looked into his eyes and saw the little doctor dancing around like, haha, I have a plan. And then, so they go back, and the thing that they saw getting shot on that beach wasn't the doctor. It was the doctor's suit. He's fine. So, haha, there you go. And then he starts wiping the information of himself from like every database because it's like, yeah, this shit's gone too insane. We need to like, tone this shit down because this is all just weird. So he does. But then later, as it turns out, Rory and Amy get divorced because reasons. I don't know. It was one of those things where these two people, one walks out, there's no audio, one's yelling at the other, so something happened.
Got it.
They just argued. But then they go to the planet of the dogs and they just hook up again. So they're fine. But at that time, they meet this girl, Clara, or Oswin, or whatever the fuck her name is, and she helps them escape. But as it turns out, we were seeing her, but what they see is another Dalek. She was actually killed, converted, and her mind is still alive in this thing. But she helps them escape at the loss of her life. Keep her in mind. Even though she's dead, keep her in mind.
Okay.
Oh god, this fucking show. So, okay, again, by around this time, things were still mildly entertaining. Still, or else like, okay, some shows weren't well, some episodes weren't like so great. Like they were like par for the course. But there were still some really good episodes. Like it's the thing with the Cybermen and the Daleks and the ghosts and all that shit. That was actually a good episode. Like they still kept it interesting. It's just that I'm just shortening it down for the podcast.
Cool.
Like it's like by this time, like Rory, like you would have loved him. Again, he stayed with this girl for thousands of years while she was incubating in this box, to make sure that she was safe. That is commitment. And yeah, she got like extraordinary for him. Like he earned that booty. So yeah, good for him.
I'm sure. Good job, Rip Hunter.
Precisely. God damn, they did him wrong in that show. That's why like we can have a whole other conversation about Legends of Tomorrow, but whatever.
Yeah.
So fuck, where was I? Oh yeah, so stuff happens, but then they have one of the most gut-wrenching episodes of the series when, well, as you mentioned, there are these things, weeping angels,
Yes.
but essentially they established kind of like a home base in New York.
The
And,
Angels?
yes, the weeping angels. It becomes a whole thing. Okay, essentially, you go into this hotel, you walk around there, and you will open a door and find the borderline near dead of old age version of yourself.
Hmm.
And then the Weeping Angels will eventually, and to make that happen, the Weeping Angels will eventually get you, send you back in time, and use your residual time or whatever to feed themselves.
Hmm.
But essentially, this isn't a hotel; it's a farm. And we find this out because there was this detective guy who was like trying to look into this crime boss. And he's like, "Yeah, sure, go to this hotel. They'll find everything there." Ha ha ha. And then this is a part where, okay, there's this one, okay, one of the people that got me to the show, the guy, he hates this episode because because what happens is this guy sees his near dead of old age self, sees the angels, starts running around, and the angels keep popping up everywhere, ends up on the roof, and then he hears footsteps, huge footsteps, turns around and sees the Statue of Liberty, and it's a weeping angel.
Really?
Hang on. Yeah. Yep, that. And and this mutual friend of ours gets pissed at this because again, huge footsteps that no one in New York ever happens to notice. Because because the Weeping Angels' whole thing is that if you see them, they will just stop moving and be like statues. If you look away, then they move with very, very scary speed. That's like that's the horror behind them. Like it's like you blink, they'll be in your face. This is the motherfucking Statue of Liberty. You mean to tell me that this thing went from Ellis Island or wherever, walked through the water, got all the way to this hotel in Midtown without anybody looking at it to stop it, and then got this guy, and then walked all the way back without anybody noticing?
Yep.
And what's weird, we heard the footsteps. Unless it was like popping around, and each step was it stopping, which is like a whole other fucking conversation we could have right there. How could like this doesn't work, especially in New York? It's a fucking city filled with people, and no one saw this. Whatever, fuck it. That guy's screwed. But then they happen to be in New York, and then one of the angels gets Rory. How do they know this? Because there's this book that Amy happens to be reading, and it seems to be very, very prophetic until the point where it says that I see this person getting coffee, and then the angels get him. And they're like, what? Fuck! And so they go try to get him like back from the past. But there's this whole ridiculous time barrier over New York. So the Tarsans going to help him this time. It's going to be this whole race against time to save Rory and get out of there before the Weeping Angels get him again. And they only have like one shot at this because of reasons. But River shows up. She's here to help. She happens to be there in the past as like a 1930s bopper or whatever the hell they're called.
Oh, Flapper.
Sure, whatever. That's a word. So they go ahead, save Rory by kind of poisoning the timeline because here's the thing. They go to that hotel and they actually see Rory's last moments alive as an old man. So it's like, okay, we saw this. This happens. And if we see this thing or if we read it in that book, it happens. It's fixed. We can't change it this time. So then they're like, okay, we just saw Rory die. Fuck, what do we do? And then they get the idea if Rory, the young one, dies now, that can't happen.
What?
So he has the idea I'm going to jump off this building and we're just going to just end this whole damn thing. And Amy's like, you fucking moron, no, you're not. And then she ends up, and they just jump on him. And then the doctor's like, get off this fucking building, you fucking idiot. They jump. And him dying and him dying over there kind of cancel each other out. So they end up just going back to the present. Like they're fine.
Okay.
And then yeah, it's weird. But then they're like, man, it's a good thing that worked out. And then Roy turns around and sees a gravestone with his name on it. And he's like, Doctor, you see this? And then he turns around, Weeping Angel right there in front of him. Poke, and he goes back in time again. Like it was the last Weeping Angel alive. Like, and then everyone's freaking the fuck out. It's like freaking surprised. Like, no, we can't. It was locked. We can't go back again. He's gone. And everyone's like, everyone's freaking out. But Amy, who loves him so much, is about to let the Weeping Angel touch her so that she can go back there with him. Which the doctor's freaking out like, no, that's not guaranteed. And it's like, it's a chance. It's the best chance that they have. And River is like, yes, this can actually work. You can be with him. So she says goodbye to her daughter ish, says goodbye to her son-in-law, I guess, and then says her goodbyes, lets the angel touch her. She goes back in time, and then they look at the gravestone, and her name's on it, now too. So they are effectively dead and gone. And what's interesting, by then you've already met Rory's dad. It wasn't in an actual show, but the writers made it canon that Rory and Amy's son meets their dad, and this son is well older than this man. But he already knew about the time travel thing. So now he knows that his son is gone, but he has a grandson who is older than him.
Oh, well, that's nice.
And then the doctor, feeling like absolute shit at this moment, but he gets it. He's not thrilled by this, but again, dems the brakes. But then he asks River if she wants to come along with him, traveling, since they're married and such. And she's like, no. because there's only room for 2 lunatics on this ship. She'd be happy to go with them, but also no. So he feels like absolute crap right now. So he was like, you know what? No more companions. Because the shit keeps happening. This sucks. They're either blasted out another dimension, they're memory wiped, or marrying each other and fucking off forever, or becoming immortal and falling through the time stream, or dying in a New York hotel or something. Fuck! Forget it. I'm not doing this again. Shit. So he fucks off to, I think, like the 1800s, like kind of Renaissance times. Well, ye old London, I guess we can call it. And he just sits back, reads, and just fucks off. That's what he wants to do. But then there happens to be this random girl who just happens to run into him. And wouldn't you know it, that Dalek girl that was dead that I told you about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's another one of her.
What do you mean another one?
Ho ho ho! Well, you see, they have an adventure, and then she dies. But and he doesn't, and he feels like crap again. He goes to the present, where he runs into yet another one of her, and this is the one that actually will stick around. Her name is Clara Oswald, and he ran into this girl twice, and she died. Okay, so then they run into this, like it becomes this whole thing about like basically evil Facebook mind controlling people and eating
Okay.
them.
What?
Yeah, evil Facebook that eats people. So he saves her from that, and he's like, okay, this chick is weird. I'm gonna take her along because this is a mystery. Because what the fuck is she? And that's a mystery that I, the viewer, actually could get into. Because like, okay, we saw this girl die twice. Who is she? And they would probably only made her die like the one other time, but the other version of her is from Ye Olde London, so she would have like it'd be half this story trying to like get her to figure out what anything is. So it's faster and easier to kill this one and then have a present day one already there.
Hmm.
So they have their adventures. He's just trying to like figure her out, and eventually, again, more stuff about the doctor eventually dying. Again, for real this time.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. But they keep hammering it in over and over again. Whatever. And oh yeah, by this time, Daleks are not scary at all anymore. They've blown that load like so many times, it's not even funny anymore. So whatever, Daleks are around at random. Sure. So then we have oh yeah, this planet, Trenzalore. And essentially, if the Doctor goes there, it's going to be his final battle, and he will die. And they actually go there. They see the aftermath of the war. They see this giant monument that looks like the TARDIS. Spoiler alert: it is the TARDIS. All the inside, bigger on the outside shit, it leaked out, and now it's just gigantic. It's like, okay, we see the aftermath. We see what this is. And this guy, the Great Intelligence. I'm not going to go into him. This is like he's just intelligent gas, whatever. He's a fart with an opinion, whatever. Don't worry about it. So he's like, the key to get in there is the Doctor's name, and that was like another plot point that they were constantly going on about. What's the Doctor's name? Blah blah blah. Who fucking knows? And then River, who happens to show up because she's dead by then, but saved to a database. Whatever, no one can see her. Kind of. Shut up. So she says the name, so we can't hear it, but she says this thing's open. That's the last time the name actually matters. They constantly hyped up this name, and now the name means nothing. His name is the Doctor. Ha ha ha. Whatever. So then, fuck. So then this guy, like inside, they don't find a dead body. They find the Doctor's personal timeline. Because bodies, they're boring. It's this ridiculous light show of the Doctor's entire life, right? So they go. So the Great Intelligence goes in there because I'm going to go to every single one of your life and kill you there, thus exacting my revenge for those times that you beat me. Sure. So now the Doctor's writhing in pain. The stars are going out again. Everybody's getting people are either getting wiped out of existence or turning to their default setting, which is probably evil, and then fading away too. And everyone's like, "The situation's fucked. What do we do?" And then Clara's like, "Wait, this guy went in there. went to every moment of the doctor's life to save him. If I go in there, I can do the same thing. And everyone's like, motherfucking no, you'll die in there. And then she's like, but I'll die, but I'll die saving him. And that's why you saw her twice already die. And this is when it happens.
Got it.
So she was in the Doctor's timeline, and you see all these different versions of the Doctor, but also she happens to be there, calling out to him. He doesn't notice, but she ends up saving him. The two times that I told you before were the only two times he ever actually noticed her. I guess. Whatever. Yeah, it's silly, but the reason why she has that TARDIS, the one that's constantly going to random places and not doing what he wants and being hard to drive, she's the one who pointed him to that TARDIS. It's like, hey, take this one. You'll have way more fun. Which the fans had their own issues with that, but it didn't fuck with anything. It was just
Dumb.
weird. Sure. Yes, all that. So, oh, right. So the Doctor is feeling better, everything's fixed, but he's like, I want Clara back. In fact, I'm gonna go get her because
Oh, she cute.
we all thought that, but then they just kept going with her to the point where it's like, yeah, could you go away now, please? It was like after this story, she's kind of just around.
Fair enough.
Like the mystery's over. You can go now. Go home. Go. And she doesn't. But anyway, he goes in, grabs her, but then hang on. Then they see this guy in the Doctor's timeline. And
What was that?
that is the Doctor as he was during the Time War.
Okay.
And this is where like, okay, so there was this secret version of the Doctor between 8 and 9. And this is the one that he didn't want to talk about. Yeah, this is like this is a whole conversation of PTSD right here with this guy. And what was interesting is that at the time, the Eighth Doctor came back for a mini episode, essentially showing how this Doctor came into being. Like just to like show off, okay, yeah, this is how we got here, which was nice. He tries to save this girl, but the girl's like, wait, hang on, you're a Time Lord, and she was cool up until that moment, because up until this point, the Daleks and Times were just wrecking everything in their war. Like she was a refugee because of them. She was like, okay, the ship's going down, and if it kills you too, awesome. And then they go down. He's hurt badly, but then okay, these witches give him a thing to drink, and if he drinks it, he can kind of manipulate what he turns into. And he needs to be a doctor that can win or survive or whatever the war. And he becomes that, but younger.
Okay.
And eventually, and as you can see, the war took a very long time. So then, so then stuff happens, and then wait, there's the Doctor. Yeah, this is where David Tennant comes back because it's time Gobbledygook, and he's a fan favorite. And also, Rose does not come back, but essentially, the the war doctor grabs this. It's a nuke. It's a motherfucking nuke, and the nuke is going to blow up the Daleks and the Time Lords, and be that thing that makes the Doctor pissed about the Time War. The nuke, however, has a mind, and that mind goes into his head and comes out as Rose. Except he hasn't met Rose yet, so he's like, "Oh, I guess I'm from your future." That's weird. Anyway, and then it's like, okay, you want to push this button, but before you do that, and then he ends up running into 10 and 11th Doctors. Not 9 because he didn't want to come back. So then, shit. Okay, stuff happens. I'm not going to go into that. But eventually it's like, okay, I'm going to push the button. This is it. And then the other doctors go after him. And it's like, if you're going to do this, you're not going to do it alone. We're going to do this together. And then there we are. I believe I lost you there.
Yeah, but it's cool. So, if I missed anything, who is that person on the far left? The thing on the far left.
Oh, this thing, that is a Zygon. It's a subplot. It's not important. They're
cool.
shapeshifters. Don't worry about it. Essentially, this thing facilitates these three starting to work together. Actually get along, because wouldn't you know it, they all hate each other and thus themselves.
Fair enough. I would assume that the Doctor hates himself.
Yeah, because let's see, the 11th Doctor doesn't want to talk about it, and the 10th Doctor keeps bringing it up, and the War Doctor's like, so here's a question. On Gallifrey, how many graves were there after I blow the thing? 11th Doctor says he doesn't remember, but the 10th Doctor gives the exact number because he counted.
Why would the 11th not remember?
Oh, he doesn't want to remember. He knows. Okay. He really just wants to move on. Which the 10th Doctor spins out, because how could you move on from that? Again, great character building. It's like this is when the show was like, man, it's really gripping television. It's like you know what, living forever would suck. So, oh, and by the way, it's snowing. Woo.
Woo.
I'm still going out. Haha. But anyway, but the Zygon thing helps them get along, and then they get together to push the button, nuke Gallifrey and everything on it, and move on after that, I guess. But then Clara somehow just says, "Hey, why don't you do something else?" And he's like, "We can't. We can't. It's fixed time. It's time locked." And he's like, and then she's like, "Try," and they're like, "Okay." So they do, and then they have this idea. We're going to, all the Daleks are bombarding Gallifrey, but what we're going to do is lock Gallifrey up into a single moment in time away from all this, and then the Daleks will kill each other in their own crossfire, thus changing everything and nothing at the same time. So then they go ahead and do that, but also summon all the Doctors, including the one after 11, because fuck the timeline. And then they teleport Gallifrey away. The Daleks destroy each other, thus ending the Time War. Except that the whole grave counting thing is now weird, because how could you do that? In fact, how could many moments happen? But sure, whatever. Moving on. So they leave. They hint at stuff, and then the actor for the 4th Doctor shows up and tells the 11th Doctor, "Hey, you know what could still be out there? your planet, Gallifrey. Go find it. And he's like, sure. And then they never bring up that again. Nice to see him, but also, what?
Yeah.
But whatever. Screw it. Sure.
I'm pretty sure
But
it's
then,
just fan service.
pretty much. But then, time of the Doctor happens. This is the Christmas episode, and this is like, okay, yeah, shit's getting serious. We have to like go to this planet because stuff's going on there, and the planet happens to be called Trenzalore. We're not supposed to die, and why are they going? Why you have to go there? That because they're hearing this weird noise there. What does the noise mean? Time Lords.
Of
So,
course.
so they're gonna go there. So they have to go there, figure out what's going on. He finds out then that's Trenzalore. So he's supposed to die here, but then the crack in the wall from Amy's seasons.
Mm-hmm.
That crack in the wall actually was and always was the Time was trying to get out of that sliver of time that Doctor put him in. It was the Time Lords all along, and all these other races in the universe heard this and are like, we have to stop them from getting out because either A, they'll kill all of us for reasons, or B, the Time Lord's going to happen again, in which they're going to kill everything. So the Doctor sends Clara home, which she's not, thrilled about, and he ends up spending the majority of the rest of his life, thousands of years, defending this one planet from literal everything. So she ends up using the TARDIS to go back, and ends up meeting him while he's like old.
Mm-hmm.
But they figure out what the hell's going on, and then he sends her home again. This time without the TARDIS, so now she's really stuck. But then the TARDIS comes back. Someone else was driving. It's a whole. I'm not going to go into that person. It's a whole thing. It's a church of nudity, and we'll just leave it there. So then, So then she comes back, but now he's like right on the edge of old age, like he's about to die of old age for serious. Like he's senile at this point. And the only race left that's trying to blow up this planet is, of course, the Daleks. So then it's like, oh, by the way, this is his 12th regeneration. Because the War Doctor, that still counts. And when he was the 10th Doctor, he regenerated into the Metacrisis Doctor, but they regenerated anyway, so that still counts as one. I guess. So, yeah, 12 Doctors, and that's it. So then he's telling Clara, yeah, this is getting serious. You have to go. But he's gonna say, and so he goes to the top of this roof to just basically die because it's like, look, guys, I have no plan. I have nothing. I'm tired. Just do it. Blow it out your asses if you have those. Just fuck off. So the Daleks are shooting everything but him in those moments where I'm like, are you fucking serious? Like, it's like, you still can't fucking shoot me. Just do it, you idiot. And then the crack in the wall, Clara goes to that, begging whatever on the other side to save him. And the thing that they kept asking, like the signal that they were sending, was them constantly saying, Doctor Who, for his name. You say his name, he comes out, and she just says, his name is the Doctor. And if you love him, you'll come and save him. Blah, 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 whatever. This is it. It's going down. It's over. And then the crack opens up, and a whole new line of regenerations just comes out into the Doctor, and he just starts using his regeneration energy to just laser blast everything in the sky because he's like having the best time. Just blam, bitches. And then he just kills all the Daleks. Again, he's anti-murder, but fuck him. Fuck him at this point. So then he goes back to the ship, and he's young again. He's looking like Matt Smith again. But, the regenerations take a bit longer because it's a whole new 12 of, like 12 new generations. This is what he's dealing with now. So he gives his long, heartfelt goodbye, which I admit it was actually a pretty good send off. Like it was Matt Smith saying how he felt about being the Doctor and how he'll never forget when the Doctor was him. And it was
Okay.
nice. It was legitimately nice. And then he sees, and like this is the part where I'm like, oh, you bastards, you clever bastards. They went to a school and had like a bunch of kids draw like different Doctor Who fan art,
Mhm.
and they just showed all that fan art all over the TARDIS. Clara couldn't see it, but he could. And then you see Amy, like a vision of her, come down and say, "Raggedy Man," her nickname for him, "Good night," showing that this is it. He takes off his bow tie, drops it, like, "Yes, we get it. This is it." And then he sneezes and turns into Peter Capaldi. Yes, he just shifts back and then bam, he's hang on. Yeah, that guy. So he is suddenly this. Clara has no idea what the fuck to make of any of this. And then he's like, don't worry, everything's fine. Just one real quick question. Do you happen to know how to fly this thing? Because, well, every time the Doctor regenerates, he's a bit off. This time
Yes.
around, he has no idea how to fly the TARDIS or much of anything at this point. So they crash in again, ye old London. And but eventually he sorts himself out, things are fine. And then eventually Clara gets a job as a teacher at a high school. I have no idea how, because I'm pretty sure you have to be like a, certified or something for that.
Time shenanigans.
No, no, she just gets in there and just does it, which is exactly what you need to be a teacher. You just get in there and you just do it, whatever.
No.
Which is weird because we know like how many teachers, and it's like, yeah, that's not how that works at all. But fuck it, Doctor Who, sure. So at the school, she ends up meeting this dude, Danny Pink, ends up being her boyfriend. They meet a future version of their child. It becomes a whole thing. Anyway, Danny dies
Wow. Okay.
because whatever. But around the same time, hang on, they end up meeting. Damn it, this person, Missy, and she's
Hmm.
doing weird shit with the Cybermen, essentially taking dead bodies and dead people's souls and putting them in there
Oh,
for
okay.
reasons. But as it turns out, the reason is Missy is short for mistress, aka the master.
Oh. Uh-huh.
Yes. So, first, representation. You used to be a man. Haha. But moving on, because that's not important. So, this whole plan was she, seeing the Doctor as her best friend, intends to give him this army of Cybermen. Because think about it, you can do whatever you want. You can decide whoever dies. You can just be essentially a god. Or I can just let them loose and they'll just run amok everywhere and then you'll be kind of fucked. So what do you want to do, buddy? Like she should have balanced him. Like she's serious about this. But Clara's now dead but not dead cyber boyfriend is like, well, he used to be a soldier, but he's like there was something about a dead child. It was a whole fucking thing. I never liked the guy, but essentially he convinces the Cybermen to just kill each other. So he dies, and everyone has a good cry about it. And Missy either gets shot or just leaves. It's one of those. Anyway, no biggie. That's the end of that season. And the boyfriend's never mentioned again because, of course, he wasn't important. Anyway, then later, fuck? Something happens. Um, the doctor goes missing, and everyone's looking for him to the point where Missy straight up time stops most of the world to the point where what was it? The yeah, planes. They're just kind of like stuck up there. If she lets them go, they'll just fall out of the sky.
Mhm.
So she's like, "You want to find him? I want to find him. Let's team up." And then Clara's like, "So what? You're like good now?" And she's like, "Excuse you?" And then she starts blasting random people around. It's like, I'm pretty sure that one had a baby because I can smell the fecal excrement on him. No, I have not turned good. And you're like, "Fuck, this woman is crazy," which is like her whole deal. But anyway, they decide to work together because apparently she facilitated those two meeting in the first place. I can't remember what happened. I don't give a shit. Move on. So they find him, and wouldn't you know it, Davros is back again. But as it turns out, he's dying. So he wants to die peacefully. He wants, and he ends up like the doctor uses the time energy, the Time Lord regeneration shit on him to like make his death less painful or give him a chance of life because the doctor met Davros as a child when he was just a kid, and it's yet another "Do you kill Hitler?" episode,
Ah,
and
the
turns
answer
out
is yes.
the answer is no. The
No,
doctor
no,
will not kill
no, no, no,
Hitler.
no. Well, I mean, the doctor sucks, but the answer is yes. In the dude, would you kill Hitler thing? Like
Yeah,
literally
actually,
everyone would say yes to that.
yeah, but the argument is that in time travel shows, you try and kill Hitler, and yeah, you kill him, but then you end up making him a martyr and end up giving rise to a super Hitler.
Then you go back and kill Super Hitler.
But then you make an even better Hitler. It's an ongoing. It's whatever. Anyway, they would say fixed point is going to happen anyway. Whatever. Moving on. So then, yeah, the doctor saves him, but also kind of sort of leaves Missy or blah 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 whatever. Ugh. Sorry, I'm getting physically ill because I know what's going to come soon.
Okay.
We're getting there. So then we get to one moment. Yes,
Hey, isn't that the girl from Game of Thrones?
yes, that person. I don't watch the show. I don't know her name, but yeah, Clara and the doctor find this person, and essentially in her Viking village, she is what's known as a fuck up. She constantly gets everything wrong, and then everyone's kind of like deals with her existence. But whatever. Then this group of I don't even know what they come down and and due to reasons in her wild imagination, they stick her in a thing, and they eventually trick the bad guys into thinking that an actual dragon is there instead of a big wooden one. It's a whole thing, but the machine ends up making her immortal.
Oh, okay.
So they leave her there, even though she actually wants to go with them, but they're like, no. So she eventually just keeps going. And eventually she has kids. They die. She she has loved ones. They die, and she just keeps going. All the while she's waiting for the doctor to just show up again to either fix her or at least take her on adventures in space. You know, so she's not bored to death on Earth. Because by the time he sees her again, she's done everything, she's seen everything, and she wants out. Because she's kind of pissed at him because he saved her life, but she feels that he trapped her in it.
Hmm.
Again, immortality would kind of suck. So then she teams up with this. and this is like the worst episode that Capaldi had because she teams up with this fire-breathing lion man who's gonna like take off planet, but turns out he's lying, and it's a invasion.
Lion.
Yes, it was fucking stupid, but yeah, fire-breathing lion man tricks her. She actually doesn't want people to get hurt again. Yada yada. Like she cares again. Woo! And eventually he's like, look, and then they stop the guy. Discussion about like purple's the color of evil, but whatever color shit, I don't know. And then he's like, oh, by the way, you might run into this guy, Captain Jack Harkness. And she's like, who? And like, you'll meet him eventually. Don't worry about it, because he's immortal, she's immortal. Eventually, they'll meet up and fuck. But anyway,
Oh god.
again, he leaves her. He just loves doing that. And then he meets up with Clara again, who wasn't there for some reason. Doesn't matter. And then there's this kid who happens to now be Cyborg in Doom Patrol. By the
Okay.
way, great fucking show.
Haven't
That's
watched
the show
it
I'll
yet.
do a podcast on.
Haven't seen
Who?
it yet.
Dude, watch that shit. Worth it. It's so worth it. But anyway, this kid ends up stumbling into this weird alien settlement in present day England. They catch him, even though he wants nothing to do with this, but they're like, okay, we're gonna stick this thing on you, and at this time it'll kill you. But this happens for reasons. Whatever. So then to buy the doctor more time while he can figure this shit out, Clara's like, wait, I found out that you can give the cursed thing to me. You give it to me, I will, and then they'll give us more time for the doctor to fix this. The doctor fixes it, but she didn't tell anyone besides the kid that she had this thing on her now. And everyone's like, you fucking moron. Because the deal was this person, Maisie Williams, had to deal with this thing, it's like a crow looking thing, whatever, for a soul, but she could still break the deal as long as it was on the kid. Clara was never part of anything. When Clara took the thing, she was out of the deal. Now no one can break it, so Clara's about to fucking die. And this is where Capaldi Doctor is like, okay, here's what's going to happen. You're going to fix this. You're going to fix this now. Or I'm going to unveil your stupid little nonsense boulevard of monsters to the world, or they're going to poke fun at you and hate on you and persecute you and all this other shit because I want this girl safe. And this girl's like, you're not going to do that. Oh, yes, I will, because I am the motherfucking doctor. And if you do not give me what you want, well, you lived for how fucking long? Do you know anybody who stopped me? And everybody's starting to get a little worried. Like, this is like, oh shit, this is like peak doctor. This is bad. And fuck. Oh yeah, the best line is like, look, you can't do that. You're the doctor. He's like, no. The doctor's not here. You're stuck with me. Like he's gone full Rick on this. Like he's gonna fuck up everything, and he's not gonna give a shit. But then Clara, being the voice of reason, is like, look, whatever you're gonna do, it's not worth it. I'm not worth all that. So she goes outside and lets the thing kill her, and clandestinely at the same time, there was this thing that's gonna have the Time Lords steal the doctor away for, again, reasons. But he's like, he flips off Maisie Williams, and then gets taken by the Time Lords. So Clara's dead, and then the next episode is Doctor completely alone in this weird maze trap thing, going slowly more crazy. Which is actually a good episode. Like, I didn't think it'd be a good episode, but it was actually very well done. But essentially, it involves him being like constantly punching at this crystal wall until it breaks for thousands and thousands of years, all the while dying repeatedly over and over again, not regenerating. Just this statue thing will just grab him, turn him into a skeleton, and then another him will just grow and not have any idea that that part happened. He'll just
Weird.
find the evidence and just figure it out. Like he'll remember everything up until those last 5 minutes. Kind of. Actually, no, wait. Like shit. He'll remember up until he comes back, or like essentially every day he's just figuring this out. But the wall is getting deeper and deeper and deeper because he's just punching it over and over and over again. There's a shovel there's a shovel there. If he she picked that up, he could have cut the time down. But whatever, he's doing this. So it takes him a while, but he eventually punches that wall and ends up on Gallifrey, where they're like, "We just wanted to make sure it was you." Or something. I don't know. But anyway, the Time Lords are just being dicks. Rassilon is back but old, and he's like, and long story short, there's gonna be an election, and everyone chooses the Doctor because again, Rassilon is a dickhead. They exile him, and due to reasons that I cannot remember, they grab Clara from the timeline, like right before she dies, and just start talking to her and stuff. Of course, then they start fucking around with the Doctor's emotions, and Clara has to eventually go back to where she came from, aka her impending death. But eventually they're like, fuck the fucking rules. And then Clara ends up getting her own TARDIS, hanging out with Maisie Williams, and she's going to keep doing that until eventually she gets bored and just goes back to where she's supposed to die. And there was a whole plot line about this thing called the Hybrid that's apparently supposed to destroy Gallifrey again, but it turns out that was bullshit. Turns out the Hybrid is actually the team up of Clara and the Doctor, not a monster thing that they constantly kept hinting at, which is a huge cop out, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Moving on. Fuck. And we got the Doctor and this girl. They're like, no. Oh, there's one. Yeah, Bill Potts. She sells fries, is gay, and is dead.
What do you mean? Okay, go ahead.
Look, long story short, she dates a water monster girl, and it facilitates her. No, it actually saves her from death by not dying, kind of. Whatever. Fuck it. She's gone. Doesn't matter. She was never that interesting anyway, so sure. And oh yeah, hang on. Missy came back with the other master because haha, we can do that shit too.
Oh, okay, cool.
But then it's like an army of Cybermen. But then Missy actually wants to save the Doctor, but Master doesn't want to. So she stabs him so that he'll regenerate, become her, and whatever. But as she's walking away, he shoots her with a thing that'll keep from regenerating so that she'll die. Because again, he'd rather die than help the Doctor. Even though that's not what happened in the other episode where he threw lightning bolts to save him. But fuck it. Whatever. The Doctor, the Master's doubly dead now.
Okay.
And then the Doctor gets shot with a laser and he dies. Eventually. But after a while he becomes the 13th Doctor, and finally, the point of this whole fucking podcast,
Only took us 2 hours and 20 minutes to get here.
Yeah, Jodie Whittaker. Which this is where we can finally start getting like serious.
Okay,
Yes, this is where the conversation starts. Fuck.
go for it.
Okay, because at this time, everyone's like, okay, if the master can be a woman or a man or whatever, so can the doctor. And it felt too obvious that the next one would be a woman, but they announced it, and we are like, and at the time, I was like, you know what? Okay, cool. If the stories are still good, it shouldn't matter what her gender is. As long as the doctor's still out there being a badass, solving crazy mysteries, and just having really good stories, I'm good with it. As was everyone. There were some haters on the internet, as there are always, but
Of course.
overall, people were actually kind of excited for this female doctor. So the series ends up starting with her fighting a monster who is covered in about 17 teeth. Like, you ever watch American Horror Story?
Yes.
Yeah, you know that teeth monster.
Yep.
Imagine that, but horribly watered down. A dude who's just covered in random little bits of teeth, and that he's like the predator. He hunts things, and he decides, you know what? I'm gonna hunt people, and I want their teeth. And eventually, she meets. Hang on. This walking plank of wood, Ryan. And they say he's on the spectrum, but that's no excuse for him. He's a dunce. I'm dead serious. He's kind of just there most of the time. He's just like that is just another person talking. Anyway, oh, those are going. So there's Ryan, there's his step grandfather Graham, and then there's Yaz. They could just have Yaz. They don't need these two at all because he's just there and he's just old. That is his constant character development. He's old.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, Yaz is a cop. He's always trying to help people. She's like a miniature doctor herself, which is like okay, cool. But yeah, this is like a lot of people. It's a lot of hens in the hen house. You don't need this many hens. Fry these motherfuckers and move on. But whatever, we're going. We're doing this. And one of the early episodes is them going back in time to save Rosa Parks from a racist from the future who wants to stop her from getting on the bus. And just,
Okay.
yes, and I'm like, okay, so they're saying that the future doesn't get any better. Neat. I mean, okay, it wasn't great, but really? Really? I mean, yeah, I'm a black guy, but come on. You can do any better than this. But sure, whatever. Fuck it. Oh yeah, Ryan totally kills that guy, but the doctor doesn't know, and they just don't talk about it.
Okay.
He just straight up murders this man, and that's that.
And nothing of value was lost.
Not or gained. They just save Rosa Parks, and that's it. But they had to make doubly sure: a that Rosa Parks was on that bus, and b the racist bus driver had to be there too, because he just randomly got a day off, and he was like, okay. But it's like, no. We need you to be here and be racist. And yeah, that's good. Sure, whatever. Fuck it. So here's the thing. I can't really remember what happens in that season. I think I kind of like blocked it out of my memory. I
That bad,
mean,
huh?
it wasn't bad. It was boring. Like not a lot was happening, and it was just it's like compared to the other seasons, it's like she was like the doctor wasn't really as dynamic as them. And not saying that she's a bad actress, just that the writing didn't give her a lot to work with. Like there wasn't even really a mystery or any sort of like overarching plot to the season. She was just kind of just going places with these people, handling problems that could be handled with a conversation, and just moving on. So yeah, but then we get to the finale of that series of that season, which let's see, around that time. Hang on, I'm pulling it up again. Because I'm trying to find the statistics. But yeah, the season finale for that had like the worst ratings because like the teeth guy from the episode one.
Hmm.
Yeah, he came back because he didn't die. He fell into a wormhole, ended up in a future, and people found him, felt that he was a god, and just started giving him whatever he wants. And
Okay.
and then they just lock him in the thing, and that's it. It's like the biggest issue that everybody that they had to deal with in that episode was how do we convince these people that this motherfucker isn't a god, or at least not the god that they want?
Hmm.
Eventually, they do, and that's nice, I guess. I'm trying to like find the previews for the episodes just to make sure. Because let's see, when it fell to Earth, but she had amnesia or something. Ghost Monument, pods competing in an intergalactic race, but then they I don't know work together and whatever. There was a Parks episode. Ah, Arachnids in the UK. One of the people that got me into the show. Yeah,
Hmm.
this is where she stopped. The episode was that bad because essentially it's the Doctor versus a colony of spiders. But the reason she's even dealing with spiders at all is because of a gentleman who is a just head of a conglomerate of hotels. B trying to be an American politician and going for the presidency, and C an absolute dickhead. Oh, I wonder. Oh, I wonder who they based this character off of. But
Hmm.
anyway, they end up doing all this shit with the spiders, running from them. But then this guy is just constantly doing like shit that pisses off the spiders. And then there's a giant spider, but then the politician guy shoots it, and it's like, God damn it, man! And he's just being a dick the entire time. But he's gonna be president. Don't forget.
Yep.
Anyway, then there is other episodes. I can't remember any of this shit. I don't know. There's some freaky looking aliens. Uh, hang on. Because if I see, I'll probably remember it. Let's see. Oh yeah, this thing that's just eating everyone.
That
That wasn't it.
that
Yeah,
looks like the baby dinosaur from Dinosaurs.
yeah. So they have to deal with that, and then they just send it into space, and that's that. Uh, and then there's an episode where they deal with the Muslim religion,
Oh no.
like Muslim marriages, something about demons and stuff. I didn't watch this episode,
Sounds like it.
and And then there's the Doctor versus basically Amazon.
Amazon Rainforest or Amazon the company?
Amazon, the company, called Kerblam. They deliver anything, everywhere, to any time. And and the reason that this place is going to shit is because a guy thinks that the AI is going to make everything go to shit, even though it's him. But he thinks that the AI is going to do it, but it's not the AI, it's him. So they end up letting this dumb fuck straight up kill himself, and they just fix the problem, and that's it. And then something about witches, and then oh yeah, this episode where they go into this mirror world with this thing that shows you your dead relatives, but it's not them. It's just
Hmm.
your memories of them given form because it doesn't want to because it's a talking frog. It doesn't want to be alone.
Wow.
Yeah. So let's see. Plan with a psychic field. All possession of reality. Like professor companions like counteracting neural balancers. Whatever. Rock floating protective shell. Seems for his crew. Da 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 da. Something about a creator and wait a second. I can find a picture of the teeth monster. Well, not really a monster, just a teeth guy. Like he's just a blue guy covered in some teeth.
Hmm.
There he is.
That okay.
Yep, that's about it. So, the fuck do you want to do again? Uh, Shooting plants and tiny objects. Oh, he wants to like steal the Earth, so he can like because he's a trophy hunter guy. I
Okay.
guess. And then Christmas episode, or sorry, New Year's episode. Daily intelligence has been separate and dormant on Earth since the 9th century. The Doctor's to its presence, the lands in. That's not the dog, never mind. Jesus. So, I didn't watch that episode either. So, then, now we get to the most recent season, Series 12. And this is where they have a whole spy adventure. And it's interesting at first, like they're going to infiltrate this multi billionaire's company without time travel, because that would be too easy, and just go ahead and figure out what the hell he's doing with like what's doing with like bombs and shit. It's a whole thing. But then turns out the Master's back again. But he's even more evil than ever. Yeah, because all that stuff that I was saying about how those moments that you actually want to help, yeah, fuck him. Forget him. Not important. In fact, he's even crazier. He's crazier than the last guy. So it's like nothing changed. Woo.
Doctor Who sounds like a lot of hullabaloo.
It's like when it's paced out, it's fine. In like a 2 hour block, it's horrifying. But the last season didn't really help because any character development by the Master, it's gone. He's just a crazy asshole now. He's just a giggly weirdo. So there's that. But eventually, he becomes a World War II general because they go back in time for reasons. He's trying to prevent her from doing something. She's trying to prevent him It's all machinations and shit. Whatever. But then let's see, the master goes to the Kasavine, calling them to taking them with them back to the dimension, and the doctor kind of just leaves him there. It's another other dimension. She just kind of leaves him there. But then, before that, he tells her, "Oh, by the way, I went back to Gallifrey, saw some shit, and I blew it all up and killed everyone.
Hmm.
So fuck you." And she's like, "No, he couldn't have." Then she goes there, and he's like, "Oh yeah, he did, because he found something that will quote change everything again." So
Ooh.
okay, so then we have a couple. Look, well, the next episode's dumb as fuck. Um, they go to this. It's a day spa in the future, but this lady wants to blow it up because her mom wasn't paying attention to her.
What?
The mom is a security guard, and this lady wants to blow it up because the lady wasn't paying attention to her as a child. But gross mutants are trying to get in, so now the the doctor, the idiot, and the idiot's mom, and all of her friends, and all these random spa goers have to work together to get out of this, I guess. And then the the mom and the idiot die together because
Why not?
fuck it. But then the big reveal: this future day spa and these mutants, yeah, it was on Earth. It's all Earth. Because with our pollution and shit, and this is the one where Jodie Whittaker looks at the camera and tells you, the viewer, if you don't change your your garbage disposal whatever's, or if you don't go green, you'll become these things.
So it was an episode of Captain Planet.
Captain Planet would be vomiting if he had to deal with this shit. This is the worst episode of Captain Planet ever. But yeah, basically, it's all this shit just to tell you, hey, recycle, stupid. So then we get to the episode about Nikola Tesla and how he's just and him and his rivalry with Thomas Edison, and they do a thing, create a old timey EMP to destroy an alien ship, and that's it. By the way, Nikola Tesla kind of ends up being able to not accomplish anything, and doing any of this shit doesn't change it. So basically, fuck Nikola Tesla.
So the episode was pointless.
For Tesla, yes, and for the show, yes. So then we get to the episode 5. That's actually the thing that kind of finally touches into the deeper plot of the story for the season, because the Rhino monster things are hunting down the Doctor for reasons, but she doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. Like, they're about to arrest her for something that she did. But the big reveal is, one second, she meets this lady, and this lady turns out to somehow be a previous incarnation of the Doctor.
Excuse me.
Gives her the entire intro. I'm the Doctor. This is the TARDIS. I'm a time traveler from the planet Gallifrey. All this shit, and Joey Whittaker's like, "What in the fuck?" And then, but then other Time Lords show up, and they're like, "Okay, everybody stop. Gallifrey's gone." Everyone, and both this other Doctor and the other Time Lords are like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And then she does like a mind meld thing. By the way, Doctor Who can do that.
Oh, okay.
And then they see it, and they start freaking out. But then, this other, it's already happening. This other Doctor shoots the other Time Lord because fuck her, and then she bounces away because whatever. But now it's like, okay, I don't recall ever being this black woman. What the fuck is going on? Because everyone's thinking, oh, maybe she's the doctor that comes after, but that makes no sense because this other doctor doesn't remember her, and this other doctor thinks Gallifrey's still there, but it
Is she
isn't.
a doctor from a different universe, timeline, whatever?
Nope. This is where we start going completely insane. So, after this, we have a few other episodes. Let's see. I didn't watch the shit at all. So, just skipping ahead to. Oh, in that particular episode with this. Well, this doctor called the Ruth Doctor, because that was her disguise name or whatever.
Okay.
Captain Jack shows up again. Not with the doctor, with her companions. He straight up kisses Graham thinking he's the doctor. He's like, hey man, you got older, but you look great. You're like, okay, he hasn't changed. And he says, you cannot give the last Cyberman what it wants, or else we're all screwed. Okay, weird. But then we get to. Hang on. What was that? Actually, shit, I don't even know the thing's name. Fuck it. Whatever. Soaking the dust. Okay, so then they end up running into Cybermen, and there's this one Cyberman who's like showing off all of his human inner stuff because he's like evolved. He's like the ascension of the Cybermen and blah blah blah. He even has this death particle inside of his body. Hold on to that. Keep that thought. So he's going, and he's the Cyberman who makes other Cybermen scream because he tortures them into evolving or something. They don't say they don't really say what the hell that means. He just buzzsaws them and then they're better somehow, I guess. So then these last 7 humans in the universe, apparently, whatever, shut up. They go, they have to go to this area in like some random fucking planet called the Boundary, and if you go there, it'll just randomly blast you to another part of the universe, and you'll be safe because if you go in there every however long, it'll just show to another area, and then you can just, and then whoever is behind you can't follow you. Okay, decent plan, I guess. Somehow, sure. So the doctor goes to this thing to see what's up, and then this dude shows up again. And he's like, haha, doctor, it's me again. I'm back. And remember what I said? Things are about to change forever. And then he grabs her, takes her to Gallifrey, and then. Fuck. Okay, so.
Does it blow up with her on it?
No.
Okay.
No, the planet is fine. So he says that he went back to like when he blew up Gallifrey, he went back, just started rummaging around, found out the truth, and the truth was so horrible, so horrific, so mind-numbingly gross that he just flipped out, killed everyone, and burned the planet. So now it's time to tell her now what the hell he's talking about. See, thousands upon millions of years ago, when Gallifrey wasn't even a fucking footnote to anyone, it was just a random fucking planet from whatever, there was. Hang on, I don't know how to spell this person's name. I could be spelling this horribly wrong. Fuck it. There's this lady named Tech Tayun, and she's a scientist. And she happens to be around on Gallifrey, and then she finds this random child. Just this random kid.
Okay.
Who fell out of a portal. Just a random fucking kid. And so Tech Taeyoon just decides, you know, I can't just leave this kid here. I'll adopt her. Whatever. And then Tech Taeyoon takes the daughter, takes her around the universe. And note, actually, before I continue, I just want to point out the sacrifices that I make for this channel. Because this morning I watched both episodes, the Cyberman episode and this. So I want it stated that I make fucking sacrifices for this.
Your sacrifice is acknowledged. Please continue.
Thank you. Shit. So then here's this kid playing around with this toy, then she's playing with this other child. Who's the other child? Doesn't matter because now they have a fight over this thing, this stupid little toy, and then this child goes over the cliff, and with the amount of enthusiasm you would have taking the bus, this child's falling off a cliff. It's just whatever. It's just whatever. Splat.
Wait, the kid splats?
Well, her insides, I guess. Well, what would be the point? But then Tecteun's like, oh no, but then the child regenerates.
Oh.
And you're like, whoa. And Tecteun doesn't know what the fuck that was. So she starts experimenting on the child. And the child, and she does so to the point where the child regenerates again. And again and again and again and again. She's essentially killing this kid repeatedly to figure out regeneration. But then she decides, she's had to crack the code. She's obsessed at this point. So she's kind of a psychopath now. But then she manages to figure out how to take the DNA from this child, put it into herself. So then she regenerates. So now she is the one who perpetuates the Time Lords because she takes all that DNA shit, puts it into her people, and now they're all just Time Lords now. So then the Doctor's hearing all this, and it's like, this is the truth of the Time Lords. They weren't some ridiculous super race. They took a child, harvested its DNA, put it in themselves, and made themselves special. And then the Doctor is like, what happened to the child? And the Master's like, isn't it obvious? The child is you.
Yeah, of course.
Which is like, okay, thinking about it now, like, well, I thought about it, like, how many times since I heard about it, but thinking about it now, wouldn't it make worlds more sense
if it were the Master?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Why can't he be the Master? It makes perfect sense. Not only would it make sense that he would flip out at this shit, he would be utterly justified, which would be a weird way to take an arch nemesis to justify them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if Superman really flipped out and Lex Luthor was justified trying to kill him, or if like the Joker movie happened, and now the Joker is justified in being the Joker.
Yeah,
it's like the worst thing you can do to a villain is justify them. They could have saved themselves if the Master was the timeless child, but no, it's the Doctor. But here's the interesting part. She's now questioning how many regenerations she had before the first one, because the first Doctor, William Hartnell, is no longer the first Doctor.
Makes sense.
She went from this child and being how many people, including the Ruth Doctor, and then she became William Hartnell, where, by the way, every regeneration was except for one kid, children that were either not white or not male.
Interesting.
Just because, representation. Most female, of course, because the Doctor's been a woman before.
Just want to say that to give all of these throwaway character, well, it's one character, but all of these throwaway forms for one character, like different races and genders, it's kind of putting representation in for the wrong reasons, because they're throwaway characters. hey, this time I
Exactly.
was a black kid. This time I was a white girl or something. I don't know. You know, it
In
just seems.
black girl, Asian girl, Indian girl, white boy, blacker boy, and then something else because they had this whole other part of this show where essentially there's this kid just running the road, and then this kid has a whole life. He's adopted by this family. He has a whole thing. He becomes a cop, and then whatever until he grows old. But then, surprise, his dad, who's not dead from old age, and his boss, who's also not dead from old age, meets this now older kid and says, "Well, we got to wipe your memory. Thanks for your service, even though you won't remember it." And then turns out, apparently, that's the doctor. Because here's the other thing there's this Time Lord CIA called the Division. And the Division essentially taught the doctor to be the doctor. Because sometimes we gotta get involved. But no one can know that we exist. So instead of like how it was before, where the doctor of his or her own volition just up and left and chose to help people. Even though technically the doctor is like a god with basically 12 lives. This person went ahead and decided, I'm going to go out, explore the universe, and help whenever I can. Except it wasn't him. It was the Timeless CIA who taught him how to do that and said, "Yeah, do that."
Hmm.
Especially now that we find out the doctor isn't the doctor because of just being a person who made a choice. No, she was born special. She's a godparent of the dimension.
And forced to do the right thing while forgetting that they were forced to do it.
Exactly.
So that
See,
takes away a lot of character development, technically.
it takes away a lot of or even the threat, because again, she had how many regenerations before this? But as I mentioned before, her max is supposed to be 12. She got another set. But apparently, she's been regenerating long before this, and the timeless child before any of this shit could just regenerate like forever. The Doctor has been a fucking god and immortal this entire time.
Well,
So anything that I said before no longer matters because they were never in any danger. For all we know, when the Time Lords gave him those extra sets, that wasn't actually anything. It was just a big light show. It's like oh, he's gonna figure it out anyway, and we might as well just do something to like make him think that it was us when it was really just inside him the whole time. So it's like, how exactly is he supposed to get invested in this show if this character can just walk away from it forever?
hmm.
It doesn't work. Meanwhile, if it was the Master, who we're not actually who they keep saying you blew out all of your regenerations before.
And keeps coming back.
Exactly. Hell, when Missy was supposed to actually die for real, but then she just came back as other guy, that would make perfect sense. It would have made perfect sense. Because then she would get up and be like, I thought I was gonna die. What the hell? And then they would go to Gallifrey to figure it out, find out that he's the timeless child, and that the timeless have pretty much just harvested his DNA for their shit, and then he'd be justified in doing all this stuff. Would have made it would have been perfect, but it would have made sense.
How do you know
Instead,
that they won't just write it so that he got it wrong in the first place and is actually the timeless child?
because that would make him out to be a complete dumb fuck who apparently the whole thing is that he's roughly as smart as the Doctor,
Of
just
course.
unhinged. If he couldn't figure this out, then he's a complete dumb fuck. And it's like if you're gonna just do this, why not do that in the fucking first place? It would just be like just a cop out. It would be dumb.
It sounds like the past two were pretty dumb anyway, so why not continue, like, just put the whole foot in and make it dumber.
Oh, they're already planning to do that because okay, so the death particle that I mentioned, the death particle that I mentioned from the last episode,
Hmm.
the last Cyberman or whatever has it, and apparently, if you use it, this tiny particle can kill all organic life on a planet. It'll just do it. So keep that in mind. But then the master gets this whole idea. Oh, by the way, he locks the doctor in a thing called the Matrix so that she could see all this shit.
They need to work on that name game because these names are so cliched.
Actually, Doctor Who had the Matrix name first.
It's not just that the word matrix is overused, but the division, um, unit, uh, Torchwood is the only thing that sounds, original.
Oh, by the way, Torchwood is an anagram for Doctor Who.
I'm leaving this podcast.
No, we're almost done. We're almost done. Okay, so shit. Okay, so Doctor's locked in the thing, and then in her head, she meets the Ruth Doctor, and she's demanding to know from the Ruth Doctor what the fuck is going on. Tell her what all this is. And Ruth Doctor's like, "Does it really matter? Think your way
Yes.
out." And the Doctor's like, "Okay." And she thinks her way out. Like she overloads the Matrix with her brain memories and stuff, and just gets out. But it's too late because the Master tricks the last Cyberman into giving him the the Cyberium hive mind, all the memories of the Cybermen. Fuck it, whatever. And then he uses that time that Doctor was whatever to make cyber masters or cyber lords.
Kill me.
I would, but you would regenerate. You're immortal. Anyway, so and honestly, that's like the one good concept that I saw in this whole thing. Like, if the Cybermen are always taking humans, what if they got Time Lords who could have all that metal armor, but inside their own bodies regenerate? And when the Master killed all the Time Lords, he kept the bodies fresh for reasons that happen to come to light now. Because sure, so it's like the idea isn't that terrible. Cyber Time Lords. And honestly,
it's not bad. It's just
actually, hang on. Yeah, these things. And they don't look terrible. I don't think so.
I mean, they wouldn't, but yeah,
It's like, okay, in all this shit, we got one thing. One tiny little thing, and that's something. So the Master is about to send out his straight up borderline immortal army to conquer the universe because and the reason why he's doing all of this, he cannot stand the idea of a part of her being used to create him. So he's going to use all of his energy to take all of her DNA, or the Time Lord DNA, put it in these Cybermen, and use that to just conquer and kill everything to get back at her. So yeah, and then he does this thing where he shrinks people into like action figures because again he's a giggly weirdo. So he shrinks the last Cyberman, but the death particle's still there, but it can still be used to like kill a whole world. And he left it there for some reason for the Doctor to like call her bluff, like, "Oh, can you do it? Can you kill us? By all means, push the button." Which is like, why would you do that? That makes little to no sense. But as it turns out, she can't do it. And he's like, "Ha, I knew you wouldn't." Which is like, okay, up to that point, it makes some sense.
Hmm.
Here's where I had. Here's where I'm like, I heard about it, but I'm like, that couldn't have been that simple. No, it actually can, and it is, because this other guy shows up. He was already there. He's just this random old person, but he shows up and he's like, "Hold on, I'll push that button." And then in a room full of this psychopath and his army of super killer robots, they straight up let this man enter the room, walk all the way to the doctor to have this whole conversation, take the trigger, and lets the doctor leave. This is a full minute and 30 seconds where I'm sitting there like, fucking shoot him. And it's like, what the and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Like, how does this? What are you doing? You fucking moron! Like, so the master decides now I'm gonna kill this kid, guy, whatever, and he's like, haha, kill you first, and then these cyber masters now shoot him, and then he still manages to click the button where you can hear the master like, everybody at the back, and then now all organic life on time on Gallifrey is dead. So yeah, the planet's blown up again.
Whoa.
So yeah, but we are unfortunately not done quite yet. Just one last tiny detail. So the Doctor sent Yaz and Ryan and Graham and the rest of them back to Earth to save them from the death particle. And the Doctor goes and finds her TARDIS again. She's about to she just wants to take a breath for a second because this is just fucking insane. But then, wouldn't you know it, those Rhino aliens from before show up and they're like, "You're under arrest for this shit that you did when you were the Ruth Doctor." And she's like, "What?" And then they teleport to prison, and that's the end of the show. And because of the massive outcry against the idea of the Doctor being the timeless child, like, dude, there was so much. People were going nuts over this shit. That's why we're having this episode at all in the first place. Because what the fuck were they even thinking? Like, they wanted to inject new mystery into into the Doctor's history, but it's like, what
Isn't
mystery is there?
that's clearing a mystery up though?
Exactly. We know where she comes from, how the Time Lords were made. It's like the only thing that's really left is where was she before the portal, or her name still, and and what she was before she was William Hartnell. She was an agent for the division, which was basically just a group of doctors. And it's like, what the fuck? If it was the Master, it would have made worlds more sense. And you would have actually seen the Master as a baby have a whole life, be a cop, fall off a cliff, get back up for some reason, and everyone just wipes his mind, and then he has to like do it all over again or something, which would then make him actually go insane, which would make sense for him. This being the Doctor, it's just fucking backwards. The only reason that this makes the only thing that's like weird, well, actually, the reason that they can't do this, like like just turning it back and saying, "Oh yeah, it was the Master," is because the Ruth Doctor. What is she?
Yeah.
According to her, it doesn't matter, and it's like, no, it fucking does. Shut up. It completely does.
Hopefully they have a plan to unbungle this mess.
Oh, they don't, and there's proof of how they don't. Because wouldn't you know it, the last episode of this season is the New Year's episode. And the preview has Yaz, Ryan, and Graham again fighting Daleks, but this time Captain Jack is there to help. They pull a Rise of Skywalker and bring a character that everybody likes so they can get those ratings back. Even though the last time you saw him was talking about the last Cyberman, which we just did that shit. Why the fuck would he be here now for Daleks?
Okay. Just to be clear, Captain Jack is still John Barrowman, right?
Yes,
Okay.
they at least kept that. Oh, and but who also is still there? That guy who is definitely not Trump. He's coming back.
Meh.
And the preview was like, oh, not you guys again. I'm like, nigga, not you again. You prick. So, yeah. Oddly enough, I'm probably the one person in my friend group who actually even still watches this goddamn show. Although,
Probably.
well, watching it in and out because fucking Christ, this was terrible.
Well,
And apparently, the guy to blame for all of this is Chris Chibnall, the new writer for the last 2 seasons.
okay. Well, maybe they'll get back on track eventually.
Or get rid of him. That's an option.
That's what I mean. Maybe they won't get rid of him and he won't be the head writer. Is he the head writer or just a writer?
He might be the head writer because he's been writing like both of the last 2 seasons.
Okay, so then he's the showrunner, and they'll probably remove him as the showrunner and get in someone else. I don't know.
Or they'll do what, let's see, it was either Marvel or DC. I think it was DC, but they said straight up, we are doubling down on this new woke movement. We're doing this because the doctors from before, they're like whatever, but the new doctor, she's all stunning and brave and great and immortal. She doesn't need to take any shit from anyone.
Like every other doctor before her.
Yeah, except they actually had no reason to help people. They just did it. Now it's like, oh, it's just built in.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, so now we have it. So instead of a doctor who, for no reason, just made the choice to go out, help people, and just be a good person in spite of all the shit that could go wrong, instead we have this person who was born special and was trained to be the doctor. And then
The
they just
chosen
kind of
one.
let her go or
Yep.
something.
The chosen one.
And yeah, I know it's kind of a shame because now it's like if you try to watch any more episodes, it's like what are you going to get out of it? I mean, the one good thing out of all of this, the next episode is going to be the last one with Graham and Ryan because they weren't barely doing anything anyway, and people knew that.
Ouch.
It's like they could have just had one character that was basically all three of them, and it would still basically be just the girl. Yes, that's how bad the characters were.
Oh well.
All right, but anyway, oh yeah, where is it? Shit, fucking Bing. Oh yeah, this was the master before he made his grand return.
Right.
That was a good episode. I like that episode because again, people were just shitting themselves. Oh, this is when what's her face dies.
Oh snap! She got a hole through her chest.
Yep.
So she's basically a JoJo character.
I was gonna say Bleach character, but sure.
I mean, same thing. She's a donut.
Not even remotely.
She's a donut.
And here's the doctor and the master making out.
Hot.
Yeah. Michelle Gomez is a beautiful woman. Like, honestly, she was fun. She was a fun character. She was chaotic evil, but she was fun. And I don't know, it's just gone are the days of old school Doctor Who. Because
I mean,
it's like
yeah.
it's hard to bounce back from this unless they just completely retcon everything. This is just how the Doctor is going to be now. Just this immortal god that's just going to be unstoppable and just running around, just flinging out different bodies and companions all over the place.
Traumatizing people everywhere.
Basically.
Because it seems like all of the companions have been traumatized in one way or the other.
Basically. Oh yeah, this is from this Red Letter Day Doctor Who episode.
They're not breasts, okay? They're Dalek bumps.
Yeah, those bumps that you see on the Dalek armor bodies.
Got it.
This is the Master, but he fused himself with a Dalek, and now he's like part Dalek and more powerful than ever. Also, he has Dalek bumps. But then the Doctor shows up. Well, there. The Doctor shows up and he's like, "Hey, Master, nice tits."
Ha 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 ha.
It was a good episode. I like that episode. Hugh Grant's in it.
Oh, cool.
It was dumb as fuck, but it's hilarious.
Yep.
Look at those tits.
Nice Dalek bumps.
Anyway, yeah. This was just like the show used to be a clusterfuck, but good. Now it's just a clusterfuck, but bad. Oh, and there's Eric Roberts as the Master.
That's so weird. But okay.
It's not that weird.
No, just Eric Roberts is in everything.
He's that good. Oh, there he is as like basically a Terminator. He was that in the episode.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a weird time. And after that, no, there's nothing really else to talk about when it comes to Doctor Who. I mean, we straight up actually covered anything, like unless you have any other questions.
I have 0 questions. You've pretty much told me all I needed to know about Doctor Who.
So you feel like watching?
No.
See, it's like what sucks is that there are some shows where I could honestly tell you the whole series, but you still want to watch. Like there are some shows that are that good. This, it's like this is just it's depressing because it used to be a really good show. Like I used to look forward to this.
I think when shows run for a really, really long time, they pretty much run out of very fresh ideas. So they got to start scraping from here and there and making political messages and doing a whole bunch of stuff that people, don't want to see in a show like this.
Honestly, the one thing I would actually want to see happen in Doctor Who now, and I mean the literal only one thing, this guy showing up again. Sutekh the Destroyer from the Fourth Doctor series. He's a god from Mars, and apparently, if he got out of his prison, not even the Timeless could stop him. And he was basically mind controlling the Doctor, for a good while before they could actually stop him. And and the actor who played him, he's still alive. He can still play him. They could just bring him back, and it'd be an interesting episode because it would be something for the old fans and the new fans because the Doctor does not fight gods that often.
I see.
So yeah, that would be like my little fan whatever. Sutekh the Destroyer, he is a god. Have him do god shit, and just go from there. After that, I don't know. There's nothing I would really want out of the series except for, well, just stick to one companion and make that one good. Because as much as I didn't really care for Clara after a while, she is infinitely better than the 3 we got now.
Ouch.
And you might hate Rose, dude. Infinitely better than Clara, therefore doubly infinitely better than the 3 we got now. I'd rather take Rose's mom over these three.
That bad? Maybe it's the
Yes.
writing that is making
Oh,
them sucky.
no, dude, it's definitely the writing. We know it's the writing, but for some of them, the acting doesn't help. I don't know where
Ouch.
they got Ryan from, but they should send him back.
Big ouch.
This one's broken. I wish for another. Or actually, no, I want my money back.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm just looking at this random Doctor Who shit. I think some of this is just Power Rangers. But it's like, okay, you have this guy time traveling all over the place, and you have a world filled with gods and monsters and the devil that one time.
Hmm.
Yeah, like actually, Rose was still there, so you should have seen that episode.
I don't remember. It was a blur. Also, I watched it when it was on Netflix, and that was a really, really long time ago.
Okay, because do you recall that?
Not really.
Because yeah, the Doctor was this thing from another planet, and he was from the future, and yada yada yada. But he kept running into shit that even made him question what the fuck's going on in the universe. Like he saw the devil, didn't believe it, but then saw all the shit that this thing could do, and was like, okay, I understand that you exist. I will not worship you, but I will not. But I will admit you are a thing that exists in the universe. And he had to like deal with actual like biblical shit from this thing, which he did, by blasting him into a black hole.
Hmm.
Because eat it, Satan. And and I don't know, it's just that whole thing where the Doctor is actually dealing with what happened in the war and like dealing with all of his past trauma and shit. Like it was good episodes. Hell, the best Capaldi episode, at least one of the best. It was the Zygons versus the humans because the Zygons wanted to like take over the world and whatever, whatever. And he had this whole speech about war and how pointless it is. He's speaking from his own perspective. Like he even admits every time he closes his eyes, he can see how bad it got. And that was like, and it was a serious moment for him.
Hmm.
Like you could tell, Capaldi was on the verge of tears, and he was just straight up screaming at them. You were doing all this death, all this destruction, all for you to do. The one thing that you would have done anyway: sit down at a table and talk.
Hmm.
So yeah. Oh, by the way, these are the Yud.
Gross.
Extremely, but also some points helpful, other points
Not so
horrifyingly
much.
dangerous. Horrifyingly dangerous. After that, I don't know. I can honestly say my favorite. Let's see, my favorite moment from Eccleston's series. The Doctor says no, where it's like he has no weapons, no defenses, no plan, and the Doctor's like, yeah, but still, I'm gonna rescue Rose. I'm going to I'm going to save the Earth. I'm going to blast every last one of you fuckers out of the sky. He's like, wait, you have no weapons. You don't have anything. He's like, yeah. And doesn't that scare you to death? And that was the moment I became a Whovian, which I don't even know if that word even applies to anything anymore.
It
But still, that's what you were saying.
no. I guess it applies to this. I mean, you're very passionate about your Doctor Who.
I'm passionate about mid to old school Who because it was good back then. It was like it was interesting. It was different, and oh, it's a shame that politics and whatever the hell got into it to the point where it's like BBC is willing to double down on Chibnall being the writer instead of actually like trying to like okay you don't have to like cater to the fans every whim, but do something that actually like picks up their spirits a bit. I mean, okay, yeah, you bring back Captain Jack, but bring him back to do what? He doesn't even need to be there. like the Doctor's in prison, all the companions are teaming up and to fight Daleks again. We've had that episode before. Like, really, put in the world, like do something different,
But fan service.
dude. It didn't work with Palpatine. It's not going to work here.
Meh.
And I don't know. It's like the thing that bums me out most. Again, and I should probably get this devil shit off here.
Probably.
Like, again, the Doctor went ahead, chose to be a person that can just get out there and just help people, and that's a good thing. Meanwhile, now, oh, that was never it. This person who was born special just went ahead, taught to be able to go out and help people, and that's how any of this even happened. Any of this. And there's no danger, there's no threat at all. Nothing can kill the Doctor now because she'll just get up, be someone else, and just go on. Unless, of course, they do a massive rewrite of all this shit to make it the Master that's the immortal one, but then it would make the last series a complete waste of time, more than it already was. Because seriously, there are episodes that you do not need. That even if you were to try and understand all this, there are episodes that you do not need to watch.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Okay. Doctor Who.
it's shit now. Basically, all that's there to say.
Well, that sucks for people who like Doctor Who.
Yeah,
I am ambivalent, so
yep.
oh well. I guess that's it for this episode.
Yeah, you didn't really have much of an opinion on this.
Me? I just wanted to hear you talk about Doctor Who. I don't know anything about it.
No, you said you knew as much as well. You knew some stuff
I
until
knew some stuff, but like all I remember is little bits and pieces, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know. So I know that like half of his companions fall in love with him. And I didn't watch the old Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, okay, that's something you don't have to worry about, especially now because like that's something that people had issue with. William Hartnell being the first Doctor, not true anymore. He's just another one.
Yep.
He saw it his time, but he wasn't the first anymore.
I think I think I would have a problem with them retconning it so much. Like to that degree where what you knew as the beginning wasn't actually the beginning. It was
And,
just another adventure and you started in the middle of it.
right. And it kind of reminds me of what they did with Star Trek, but it's like, okay, they threw out everything to start over and made half the cast assholes or just weird. But still, it's like, okay, it was a new starting point. They're not like you don't have to know anything else in order to enjoy this.
You mean the movies?
Yeah, the movies. Which okay, yeah, they weren't great, but I didn't have to like double back and watch a bunch of Star Trek to understand what the hell was going on.
Yeah, that's fair. Technically
Meanwhile,
they changed some stuff only because I guess it was a different timeline or something. I don't know.
yes, it was a different timeline. Except all the characters are acting wildly different. But
Right.
sure. And then again, it's like kind of like what happened with Star Wars, like the new movies.
Mm.
It's like you change, like you do all this retconning shit, but then it all hinges on stuff that's already been there, but pulls everything down. Like it's like bringing back Palpatine, even though that makes no sense, and it hinges everything about your current series on shit that happened before that people probably weren't even alive for. So so for like a child to understand what happened in new Star Wars, they have to watch old Star Wars, all of it, in order to make any sense of it. Or else they'll just see a random old guy and just it'll just be there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So in order to understand why everybody's pissed about this new version of the Doctor, or whatever we're gonna call it, you have to you have to like understand the old school shit that I just told you. But then again, it's like
It doesn't really matter though.
according to the thing that causes all this shit in the first place, no, it doesn't. Apparently. And you know what? It sounds like this where I'm like glad that there's like other shows like you know what? Cobra Kai. You
I
don't
have
have to
not watched an episode of that, but it sounds good.
it, it's very well done. You don't have to watch the old Karate Kid movies. They'll make the references, but but nothing's hinged on it. It's like if you were to start watching right now, you don't have to watch the old school Karate Kid.
Wouldn't they
If
give
you
a
do,
flashback of it anyway?
yes, they do. They'll
Also,
give
I
the
feel like you probably should watch at least the first one if you're
oh
gonna
yeah
watch Cobra Kai.
yeah. I watched the first one. That's one thing. But if
I
a
mean, we're
person
old dudes, so I'm pretty.
yeah
Everybody has seen that original Karate Kid.
right. But a person who is completely fresh, didn't watch the old one, they can still jump into this and still at least enjoy the character development, the interactions. Friggin' Billy Zachary just being an absolute boss.
Yeah,
Like it's like yeah, he's an older guy and doesn't really understand like the new kid shit, but he makes it so fucking funny. Hell, they gave him an award on for MTV, um, like the best zero to hero,
uh-huh.
and and his quote students on the show called him the goat, and he was like, "Goat, how dare you? You're the goat." And you know what? MTV, who even watches that? I haven't watched it since '85. Bring back Rat, bring back Rerun, and no one knows what the hell he's talking about. And it's like, oh wait, that's what the goat means. Oh, that's what the award was. I thought I didn't even sign for it. Like it was a whole thing with him, but it was fun. Everybody, it's a fun show, and, and I'll tell you after. There's a mutual friend of ours. The last episode of the second season, it's so worth the wait. Like it's great. And yes, they give all the honors and homages to Mr. Miyagi, Pat Morita.
Hmm.
It's just a well built show.
I'll look into it.
Okay, so after wasting 2 hours of my life this morning, I feel like I just wasted 3.5 hours of your life now. So
Nah, you
we're gonna wrap
good?
this up. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up. I pretty much just convinced Jimmy, Sonny, damn it, to
It's
never
cool
to never watch Doctor Who. And at this point, why would he?
to not continue watching Doctor Who.
Right. All right. In our next episode,
We
Japanese
can. Wait, is
Japanese
it
anime
anime
porn.
versus manga? What?
Japanese anime porn.
No, we're not.
Art or not? Like
No, we're not.
what?
Stop it.
Come on. No,
No.
dude, it's fucking weird, but you
No,
love it.
I don't. No. No.
Stay
We're
tuned
not
for our
doing
next
that.
episode.
No.
All right, come back next time. Bye.
Bye.
Anime